Yeah, we're good there. Yeah, my computer was not too happy with Battlefield and streaming, so
You're too tired? Wow. Oh.
you are the best. Baby, baby, man.
Get out from behind his back. No, no, don't mess with anybody's back. Out. Okay, you're not to show me your workout. If you want me to leave you alone, you sit there and you watch the show. Get on the floor then, show me your workout. On the floor. Come on. What? Oh.
Yeah, could you get me a tea jug? Thanks, kid.
What? Don't put it down. You don't have to hold that.
Just put it on the ground, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me. Yeah. After this, we're going.
I know, I see.
Shower, take a shower. I haven't used your bathroom in a while.
I
And get in bed? Grab one for a night.
Oh yeah.
That's Mom. Mom. No, not really. That's
Lucas the Spider-Man. And not Spider-Man.
cool.
Countries who they're not able to be polygamous there because in a Muslim country, even if the law says you're allowed to marry four women, you have to be financially able to do that sort of thing. So you have to be able to provide multiple houses for multiple women and stuff. And most Muslims can't do it in Muslim countries, but they understand if you can get to the United Kingdom or Germany or France, you do your marriages to your wives in the mosque. These women are officially in front of the government. They're single mothers. They're single women. They're single mothers, and the state will provide for them. So you can actually, if you can just get to a Western nation, you can do whatever you want to lots of 12-year-old, 12, 13-year-old girls. No one's going to stop you because you just start screaming racist. And also, you can marry two, three, four wives, and the government will actually pay for it. The government will pay to provide for your wives and your family because the government views them as
Sad.
single mothers. And so you can basically live the dream if you can just get across whatever body of water you need to get across to get to one of these places. And if you, so again, it's good that there's an asylum process and so on for people who really need it. But other people just take advantage of it, and it seems like most of the people who are using that asylum system are just taking advantage of it to get whatever they want. And then you got people
Yeah,
like
maybe.
you who would kind of expose what's going on, saying, "Hey, here's what's going on," just so everyone knows, and that kind of makes you the supreme enemy because I
Oh yeah,
don't
I've
want.
done the circuit of just offending people. I mean, I've, I've done the worst possible route in terms of trying to defend myself in terms of character. I started off with Speaker's Corner with the
Wait,
Muslims,
go,
and then
go.
familiarized myself with the left
Oh
in
my
terms of
gosh.
police
Please
protests.
don't.
Now, the word of the day: never blame a man for taking up an opportunity that is given to him for free. I mean, if I give you £5 million, no strings attached, are you going to complain? No, of course not. It's always the government,
And I'll
and
never tell
that's
me.
the reason why you're seeing these cases. I mean, yeah, of course, there's always going to be Christians which face persecution in areas that the UK don't even send foreign aid to. But then, of course, you have the 1% which just get baptized as Christians but
And
secretly
more
believe in
on
Allah and then use
the.
that to claim asylum. So it's always a difficult one. But you can very obviously tell the ones that are here for a legitimate reason compared to those who are just trying to exploit women. Now, in terms of Sharia courts, I mean, the hijabs of this world, they just want to scoff down donuts in the actual Western court system compared to actually just deferring all of their legal proceedings to the Sharia courts. And that's really the problem. I mean, I commonly see in response whenever I do discussions online about Sharia courts, well, the Jews and the Christians, they all defer
It's
their
like he
legal
whacked ya. just started. Kind of
because
interested.
we wouldn't defer every single legal proceeding to the church, right? We'd get married there ceremonially, we'd still get recognized within the government of the land. But Muslims completely detach themselves from the legal system of this United Kingdom. And that's kind of the issue. When you push multiculturalism and there's a particular culture that tries to prevail and itself, and you see this from Speaker's Corner, Mansour has told me on camera that what he wants to see is the Muslims to have one section and the Christians to have another. And sample size and apply it to the United Kingdom, you have patches of societies which completely detach itself from government and Western civilization.
Oh,
And
you tied me up.
what just because so he wants separate sections at Speaker's Corner.
Yeah, like they've done this all the time on camera. I try to engage with them.
No,
My
just hold
understanding is,
on.
well, firstly, there's no fruit in just talking to these individuals in isolation of the cameras, because at that point you're just essentially talking to an Islamic wall, because they're not going to change their positions, right? But in terms of the kind of following that they keep, imagine them seeing a 17-year-old winning a discussion over Mansour, right? And this with hijab, the only discussion
That's the
available.
real. That's the main reason they hate you, right? It's an
Yeah.
you're an embarrassment to them, right? If you run up to them and embarrass them on whatever topic they are, and you're a 17-year-old kid, and some of these guys have been doing this 20 years. You learn the Dawa script. You pick up the Dawa script, and you can respond to the Dawa script. Massively embarrassing. I mean, the only thing more embarrassing would be if it was like a teenage girl, right? Because then they're supposedly
Well, that's
intellectually
haram.
yeah, that would be they would view that as intellectually deficient and so on. But yeah, so I think, and by the way, I think that's part of the reason. It's in a different way, but I think that's part of the reason it does and because he's always wanted attention. He has the same like ego as someone like Muhammad Hijab, right? Thinks he's supposed to be the champion of Islam, but he's looking around and Muhammad Hijab becomes super popular, Dawa becomes super popular, and Hijab is just sitting there and people ignore him. And he doesn't get any attention unless he doxes someone. But they're looking at you saying, "This guy can't leave him alone. He's already schooling our guys, and they're running from him, and there's the police over him, and he's becoming popular." And he just came out, and meanwhile, Ijaz has been trying to get attention for 2 years, and still can't get attention, doxing people. And I think it's just like it crushes him. It crushes him emotionally and psychologically. It's like
Probably.
you're
Probably is crushing.
to Ijaz. But for the rest of the guys, yeah, it would just be. I mean, it would just be humiliating for some. Let me put it this way: if you're a Dawa guy and you see a 17-year-old Christian walking up to you, if they didn't know you, if you're a Dawa guy and you see a 17-year-old Christian walking up to you, it's like, oh, awesome. This is going to be awesome. I get to just totally lie to this guy left and right. He's not going to know the Dawa script. He's not going to know how to defend Christian theology. He's not going to know any of this stuff. And so I can just crush this kid. And then it doesn't happen. And then now they actually apparently just have to run to police whenever you show up.
Well, that's what happened originally. Like the first discussion I had at Speaker's Corner was with a Mr. Paul Williams. Now, I had already been familiar with his blog post on trying to make compatible sodomy with Islam. So I always found it quite interesting. But he always does a script, and I can reduce the ministries within Islam to a few talking points. Like I think the Dawah script is now customized to a particular individual. So he always goes on, well, this convergence of Tawheed and the Shema, like stuff like that. And I already knew what he was going to say. So I was going to say, I'm going to do like pure philosophical sophistry on Tawheed. So he was going through his little script. I was like, yeah, fantastic. Islam is so simple. And then I just straight in with like a syllogism against composition, because I was a massive TikTok sophist. I'll always admit that from the offset. And he bloody hated it. So then he ran away. So I just followed him with like a blog post. I was like, hey, so why do you believe sodomy is like compatible with Islam? Is this the version of like Sunni Islam you're trying to give to like young boys? Also, why did you originally come to me? If you're preaching that type of content and you believe sodomy is compatible with Islam,
yeah, it's pretty creepy. This is what you're talking. This is what you're talking to the young guy. This is what you're telling to the young
Yeah, man. They always accuse the priests, but
Yeah.
it's always got to be them, dude.
It's weird stuff. So they were interested in talking to you when they didn't know you could you could actually hold your own and crush them on some point. So um, we've seen clips of like what you're talking about with like
Calm down.
Hashem and so on
Say
running.
it.
Please save me. There's a 17-year-old. He's crushing me. Um, but is that just standard now? Because I was going to go to Speaker's Corner multiple times this year, but not allowed anymore. But last year I went to Speaker's Corner, and I really thought I was going to get there, and that because we'd seen the videos of like Hatun and stuff back in the day, where it would be her and she'd be surrounded by like 50 Muslims and stuff like that. So I thought we are going to go there, and Muslims are going to be around us, and it was going to be this awesome free for all debate. And apart from that little guy they call Scrappy or whatever, and a couple of guys who were like there were some Quran only Muslims and stuff. They came up had a good conversation. So there were it's basically like not the regular Sunni Muslims who are willing to have a conversation. They all ran. They didn't want to come anywhere near any of us. And then
Hmm.
even like Mansour, Mansour, when he saw God Logic, he didn't know who God Logic was, and he was happy to have a conversation with God Logic until God Logic actually showed that he knows what he's talking about. Then Mansour, he didn't want to talk anymore, and he said, "I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about this." And he literally runs across he runs across Speaker's Corner and starts having a discussion with a woman over there. Then he was totally willing to have a discussion because he found a woman who didn't know anything about the Dawa script and so on. So, is it your experience now that because again, I'm wondering, is it particular Muslim? Because I was just there that one day last year.
Yeah.
So is it the is it all the Dawa guys now? Are they only willing to engage with people who don't know the Dawa script, or is that just like certain people?
Islam is kind of like this corporate entity now. I think it's looking at its capital, like it's looking at this monopoly that it possesses, and it's just seeing it's no longer economically feasible to risk that against the Christians. So, yes, there is a form of blacklisting, but also there's now this concept of defamation, right? So, of course, naturally, as it comes out that these very pious Muslims were doing unpious things, they kind of want to deflect. And I actually think there's a genuine ignorance with Islam. They always accuse us at Speaker's Corner of being secretly funded by whatever organization they want to kind of make controversial. Uh, just bad things. And typically, I think that's just a deflection that they secretly just assume that their opposition is doing the same thing that they're doing. So it's a corporate entity. They no longer see it as economically feasible. And now there's this new tool to its possession called defamation. This wants to defame and libel different people. So yeah, there is no actual engaging with Muslims at the corner. And that's why I've kind of transitioned my work at Speaker's Corner, because in a debate with an interlocutor, you can either debate the idea or the person, right? The person who possesses this idea. Now, you're no longer able to discuss the idea with Muslims. You can only discuss about the person, because it's way easier, even if you don't engage, if you just read the scandal of a particular dawagandist, it's way easier to get that on screen and it even be transmitted by the Islamic channels, and people question, because they question the person, they also question the idea, compared to just speaking to an Islamic brick wall, because you can't really debate with someone who's not going to engage with you, because a lot of the times a lot of arguments are kind of premised around different questions or points that they kind of have to agree to then come to a conclusion. So it's incredibly difficult to now debate the idea at Speaker's Corner. The person is kind of what you ultimately want to go towards.
And they have seems like there's plenty of material there. So we've got and it's not just the guys at Speaker's Corner. It's the guys. It's kind of all over the world. I mean, you've got Muhammad Hijab. He's like legend status for Muslims and the Dawa scene, and see what he's been doing. I mean, he's been saying super creepy stuff and defending super creepy stuff for years, and then it all gets exposed that he's doing it, and then he gets crushed in court, and now he has to start his MMA career to try and uh, pay for all the legal penalties and so on. You've got it's becoming this thing where everyone wants to fake hate crimes against themselves now. Like Sheikh Uthman did it. He covered himself in fake blood and said the kuffar got him and stuff like that. And so you had him. You got Lily J now, like clearly staged. A woman throws a drink on her and so on. they're conveniently recording from multiple camera angles. She conveniently had all these people recording and so on. Um, but you've got all these guys. It's like they're what works in dawa is just an ability to get attention, and but the people who are able to get lots of attention for themselves are usually like narcissists and so on. They're great at it. They're just naturally good at it, getting attention to themselves. So they do well in dawa, but now it's basically a competition for who gets the most attention. And so what gets the most attention? Well, okay, if faking something against myself or faking a hate crime or faking something is going to help me get attention, then we'll do that. It's just part of being a da'i now. But then all these like scandals come out, like Sheikh Uthman, his one of his dawa buddies sent his wife to him for marital counseling, and then Sheikh Uthman has sex with a woman, marries her, and but she's still married to the other guy. So she's in a polygamous marriage, and so all this comes out, and then more comes out that one of his other wives has to get a restraining order against him because he's one of these guys that he's like Andrew Tate. He can't get aroused unless he's like abusing a woman or something like that, choking her and things like that. None of this bothers their fans at all. Unless someone like hijab becomes so much of an embarrassment that you can't bring him up anymore because it's just so much to pile on. Not in the Al Zut sense, but just so much scandalous information is piling on him. That's the only time they'll care. If it didn't become an embarrassment, it would not matter if someone like Muhammad Hijab turned every Muslim woman in the Ummah into a prostitute. They would not care as long as he's thumping his chest and humiliating the kuffar. And so now it's just to the point where these scandals are easier to expose because of social media, and it's easier to bring up. And you just look, and they don't know what to do. They've been functioning where they can get away with anything for years, and no one cares as long as they're getting attention. And now it's like the system is breaking down in front of them, and they're struggling to figure out what to do. And it's like, what do we do now? Hijab's like, oh, let me take him to court. Let me take a guy to court if he's exposing me for something. Let me try that. Okay, that didn't work. And you got the speaker's corner. Okay, let's go to the police now. Let's go to the police. Every time a Christian walks up to us and will say, help, help, we're being oppressed, we're being oppressed. It's like they're seriously struggling to figure out ways to silence people and to stop them from bringing this stuff up. And that of course, that's exactly what Ijaz was trying to do.
Yeah, I actually think that on like the common Islamic laity, a lot of people, and this is because of course I'm young, like I'm now able to experience like people in my college, for example, like the Muslims there, because there's so many of them, what they think about these people that I'm engaging with. And I'll tell you this for free. Typically, when you have spokespersons on your religion that admits to inflammatory things actually existing within your holy text, you start to not like them very fast, especially with hijab. Like I actually spoke to hijab the day before his scandal came out, which was very fortunate. Allah had blessed me that day. And going on from that, I had like a bunch of Muslims from my college, like literally rant. Firstly, before the scandal came out, on how he admits to these things actually existing within their religion, and secondly, why he shouldn't be a dahi if he's embroiled in these scandals. And it just demonstrates that outside of this enclosed system at the corner and their supporters, which of course have very thick pockets, a lot of Muslims don't like it, because Muslims, as much as the West is being changed by Islam, Islam is also being changed by the West in some degrees. So when you say things that are anti-Western, a lot of Muslims on the laity level don't like it. So there is a degree of hope there. There's a degree of change. If they keep on exhausting their tools to kind of make people out to be dishonest, and it kind of backfires on them, like with hijab, like with hijaz, it's going to backfire them immediately, the supporters that they have. And I think that these dahis are almost running a cult-ish system, in the way that you either extremely love them and you dedicate yourself to them, or you extremely reject them and what they teach. So I think that's a point to be made. Secondly, like with the point of hijaz, well, look, I firstly appreciate that he's using the combination of my transgender auntie, because it demonstrates the point that Hijaz is allying himself with an individual who cut her breasts off. So thank you, Hijaz. You're demonstrating that not only does Paul Williams agree with sodomy within Islam, Hijaz agrees that instead of Allah cursing the man who dresses like a woman, you in fact can do that.
they always make that alliance, right? I mean, you look at you got a different system over there, but um, here, the U.S., you look at and it's weird because it wouldn't if you didn't know it and you didn't know the history of it and you thought, okay, who are Muslims going to be more aligned with, like conservatives or like progressives and LGBT? You'd think they'd be more aligned with conservatives just in terms of uh, certain beliefs about right and wrong and so on. They always go with the extreme progressive fringe, and the real connection there seems to be both groups are trying to tear down the entire system, and so they align themselves like that. And I think that's connected to what you were saying earlier about um, people who start rethinking Christianity. It usually has something to do with um, there's a connection to conservatism and so on, and it's not because like conservatism is like a it doesn't have to be associated with Christianity, but it's more along the lines of, hey, there's all this stuff and it's trying to tear everything down. What are they trying to tear down? It's like, oh, okay, the traditional pillars of our civilization. Well, what is that? And then they start, oh, okay. If once you start saying, hey, maybe there's stuff that needs to be defended and so on. Well, guess what? All that stuff is connected to Christianity, and so, hey, maybe Christianity isn't as bad as all these people are screaming, and so maybe I need to take a closer look at Christianity. And so, yeah, I guess if you look at what everyone is attacking and you think I want to defend it, and then you find out, oh, this has a lot to do with our Christian background, and so people start checking that out a little more.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. Just quickly on that point, in the UK general election, interestingly, you have a few more split factions within the left, and you would think the Muslims would move towards the political parties that are kind of against the LGBTQ, and you find this in the left with the Workers' Party, but they're all moving towards. And of course, this isn't to say anything on Israel and Palestine, but if you're on the left or you're on any political party, regardless of their foreign, economic, or social policies, if you support Hamas, they're instantly going to go towards you. So I think that Islam is forming this voter bloc, and it's incredibly anti-Western.
and that's one of those things that gets harder to deal with as time goes on. In other words, you have a small voter block at some point, and guess what? A couple of years later, that's a bigger voter block, and eventually you get to a voter block where you're going to have a problem. You're going to have some serious. I mean, you already got problems, but it's going to be much harder to do anything about in the future. And so I think a lot of people are catching on and saying, "Hey, we gotta do some we gotta deal with this stuff right now." And so, yeah, anyone who's jumping up and saying, "Yeah, we're going to deal with this right now," that would be you. Then gonna be a big backlash. What's interesting about like because it's just fascinating with hijab, with the speaker's corner, Muslims with ijaz and so on. There's just this absolute obsession with controlling what other people can say and what they can do, and it's just built into their ideas that we're superior. I mean, from their perspectives, they're like, we're superior and we have to be controlling them. And then you see these people running around and they're challenging Islam and questioning everything these guys say, and they can't deal with it. Matter of fact, Hatun has pointed this out before. She said, in Christianity, the emphasis in the Bible is defending what Christians believe. So apologetics, 1 Peter 3:15, a command to do apologetics, a command to be able to be ready to give a defense
Eli already fall
for
asleep.
what we believe. In Islam, they've always been focused on offense, attacking every position, saying every other position is wrong. And so you've got this, and that's been the dynamic for the past several decades. When you have Christians and Muslims interacting, Muslims are attacking. They're attacking the deity of Christ. They're attacking the Trinity. They're attacking the Bible. They're attacking all these things. And Christians are doing what? We're trying to defend, trying to defend, trying to defend. But then eventually you get to a point where Christians say, actually, hey, let's look at your stuff. And Christians start criticizing Islamic beliefs, and Muslims start getting really uncomfortable because they're not used to having to defend this stuff. They're not used to having to defend Tawheed or the Quran or Muhammad. I mean, just think about that. If they really thought that Muhammad is obviously a true prophet. It's just clear. He's got the mole on his back. He's got all he's got the prophecies in the Bible. They should want to debate whether Muhammad is a true prophet all day, every day. They won't touch it. They should be wanting to debate whether the Quran is the perfect speech of Allah day and night. They don't want to touch it. And they why? Because they just don't know how to respond to criticism, and so they come to places where all of a sudden people are allowed to question and challenge them, and now people are actually learning how to respond, and they don't know how to defend it. And so what are they doing? They're trying to list. So it's anyone who disagrees with us or questions us is an Islamophobe and a racist. So we'll use that for a while until that stops working. Then it's let's try and sue them in court if they say something about us. So that's not working. Just ask Muhammad Hijab. Then, of course, you had these guys running to police. Police, save us. They had the media on their side, all this politicians on their side, trying to get laws changed, Islamophobia laws, so that then no one can criticize Islam because then it'll actually be illegal. And of course, the doxing. Well, in addition to the constant threats, so that used to be how they did it when I was getting started, like 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It was just you're saying something, we're just going to shower you with threats all day. Every time you open up your box, it's we're going to kill you, we're going to do this to your wife, we're going to do this to your mom, all this stuff. We're going to do this to your kids, and that's every day. And they thought that would work, and it would work with certain people, but eventually you get to the only people who are criticizing Islam are people who aren't going to back down from that sort of thing. So then they don't know what to do. So we have to try something else. Let's try this. Let's try that. And it's just I'm looking at that and they think that's strong. I think that's absolutely pathetic. It's the most pathetic thing I've ever seen in my life. You guys can't defend your prophet to save your lives. You can't defend your book to save your lives. And the only way you can think of dealing with this is running around trying to silence everyone, and it's absolutely pathetic. But they're kind of if they don't get some laws passed or something like that, I think they know they have to because they lose if they don't.
Yeah. Well, firstly, Bob mentioned this to me, and I think it's extremely true, right? So I'm not the most ecumenical individual, but the history of churches and denominations are that of being like critiquing one another, essentially doing apologetics. Like you could attack me on denying the filioque, right? But of course, we can have a civil discussion on that. Now, take it back to the Mu'tazilites that simply disagreed that, well, the Quran is not the eternal word of Allah. Then, of course, they get unalived for their troubles, right? They're now an extinct group. So the church, in its persecution, is the biggest apologetical entity in the world. And this is why I think there's a good comparison. The Bible is the biggest apologetical religious text,
Still
whilst
over
the
there
Quran is
playing.
the biggest like attack, right? It says, "Do not say this about Allah." Meanwhile, the Christians are just simply trying to defend their faith.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's like, I still it just boggles my mind how people can regard this as strong. The running to police from a 17-year-old. Like,
Yeah, like I'm the most
it's like so pathetic.
I'm not intimidating. Like, look at me. A lot of people like I look. I don't know. I can't insult myself, of course, but I hardly look like the most menacing. Like, you can't accuse me of being some thug boy, right? I'm
Yeah,
extremely like the most
I don't think anyone
civilized.
would be scared if they saw you walking down the street. They would not be like, "Oh, I have to protect myself."
The women do, you know. Of course they do.
Nice.
Nah.
All right, so on this issue of ijaz, wait, there's one more thing I wanted before we jump into. We'll go back and look at what ijaz uh, got attention for several years ago when he did something very similar. But you said you got the tism, the tism.
Yes. Of course, Allah has blessed me, you know. Well, here's the thing, I'll tell you this for free. You have to have some sort of degree of neurodivergence in order to do this and continually being like emotionally plain. Like, I've had eggs chucked at me. I'm currently kicked out of my house for the troubles. Like, I'm essentially homeless, right? I've had doxing threats, I've had unaliving threats at my age. And I can appreciate that maybe it wasn't the best decision to do this at my age, but nonetheless, it's kind of a decision that I can't unmake now. Now, you have to have all autism in order to kind of handle that type of information and not kind of cry or run away from your troubles. And it's extremely about character building, right? I mean, if you're not able to focus on the problems that you have now in doing this for 2 years, imagine the troubles that you have in 15 years, right? Conservative and Christian figures have been debanked, had been evicted, had
What are they
scandals
for?
lied about them by other liberal like organizations like Hope Not Hate. So in which case, can't handle my parents kicking me out or doxing by Muslims. How the hell am I going to handle being debanked in like 15 years' time?
Yeah, that is. That's why there's the obsession with finding ways, and so this isn't limited to Muslims. It's really just a feature of people who can't defend their claims against criticism. They have to find ways uh, to make people unwilling to speak, and so you have that. That would be one of the methods. If you just if you can't if you can't get an account at a bank anymore, then you can't do a lot of things, and so um, that is one. That is definitely one of the things. No, I do find it interesting what you're talking about because I noticed for years. I noticed for years there are certain people. I just mentioned it. There are certain people who I've seen over the years. Like I've seen Christians talking like 15 years ago. I would get messages from Christians saying, "Hey, I have a I have a heart for reaching Muslims. I want to reach Muslims with the gospel and stuff, and I want to learn some apologetics, and so I want to deal with Islam and reach Muslims around the world." And I say, "Okay, here's how you can do that." And 6 months later, they don't want to say a word about Islam because they as soon as they started saying anything, they just got blasted. And most people don't take that well, right? I would rather deal with something where I'm not going to be constantly threatened with torture and death and being raped and all this stuff. And just, I don't want to deal with that stuff. This is horrible. Um, but the people who will stand their ground no matter how much you're attacking them, no matter how much you're threatening them, no matter how many terrorist threats against them and so on, the people who will stand their ground and all of that, and the people who it doesn't matter if you get them fired from their job or something like that. It doesn't matter what you do. If you ruin their careers or what, they're still just going to keep coming after it. Generally, that's either just someone who has a really aggressive personality and doesn't like to take crap from anyone, or it's someone who
It's on the
is
spectrum.
not normal. I'm saying I'm in that category, right? So you're I guess you would be high functioning autistic. I'm considered high functioning antisocial personality disorder. High functioning high functioning psychopath. See, they've got this bag of
Ring the theater.
it doesn't work on someone like me. There's something about I love being attacked from every direction, and so that feels normal to me. I don't feel normal if I'm not being attacked. Like I must be doing something wrong if I'm being attacked and so on. So
The Muslims are trying to unalive me for my troubles. I must not be doing the right polemic against their religion. I see it because, look, we've come to this expectation now that if you talk meanly about their prophet, or you mentioned some statistics about 78% of Somalians claiming housing benefit, look, Pete, you're going to get troubles for saying these obvious facts. And look, I'm not suggesting now. Here's the issue I always have with people, right? Like, and this is what you said as well. The threshold of, and this is why I don't consider myself smart. The reason why you see outliers in me is that
you say you don't consider yourself smart?
Yeah, of course not.
Okay.
Very good. So the access of information due to the internet is that you can have someone with formal education from like Discord or whatever. I know it sounds quite brain rot. Compared to someone who's done this for like 15 years, take like someone like Paul Williams, right? And they can be in the same league with one another. The difference is just in the generation that they were born into. So when you see people like me come to the woodworks, and you already do, it's just unfortunately the individuals who are online stay online. Meanwhile, I've always seen this practical aspect of, well, instead of going on like the Discord basements discussing with people that will never really have their mind being changed, why not I just use this information that
Follow Helix?
has given me and kind of translate it into this
Just listening to this conversation for a bit.
evangelism and also debating politics, because there's so many opportunities out there. You just get off your lazy ass. Like that's the biggest prescription for anyone that wants to message me like, how this so quickly. Just get off your ass, man. Listen, I was part of Turning Point UK, strangely, because I was outside of the embassy of Azerbaijan, protesting against the government not responding in any way against the persecution of Christians. So if you get off your ass,
AP.
you can randomly find good opportunities there.
Well, 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 well.
Look what the cat dragged in, ladies and gentlemen.
Look at that.
We're
Look
yeah.
at that. What
Can
is
I
this, man?
appreciate something?
Hmm?
Yeah.
Apostate Prophet, I was at a conference with him the other day. I was speaking for him for like half an hour. It only took someone else who he met the day before to tell him, yeah, that's young Bob, until he put the two dots together and was like, oh, I've heard of you. I appreciate that, Apostate. Really. Thank you so much.
That is true. That is true. We met at the conference, and he came up and he talked to me, and we spent quite some time together. And then I think, who was it? I think it was
David.
David. Yeah, it was David. David Notwood. He came up to me and he said, "Hey, young Bob, how are you?" And then it dawns on me. I'm like, "Wait a minute, you're a young Bob."
Put the man to the face, or the boy to the face.
Remember,
But
Eli's
young
sleeping.
Bob's response to me was like, "Well, I thought it was obvious."
I'm not egotistical. I was like, what do you like? I
Look
don't
at
know,
stupid
like,
look.
I don't know if you're like narcissistic. I don't know if you have like some sort of celebrity complex. So I didn't know if like you wouldn't respond to people you just don't know, because I don't know who you are personally. So I was like, do you not think it's obvious if I just randomly go up to you and just start discussing on your orthodoxy?
But this shows that I just talk to anybody. You see, I didn't know that you were important. I didn't know that you were a celebrity.
dare you not know who I
am?
Young Bob is a hero.
That's fair enough. Yeah. Now we know that Apostate Prophet is not an egotist like the Dawagandist.
Eli go bed by himself?
Like the sheikhs who are kind of
Was he that tired?
escorted by security in limousines.
Wow.
Which is always a good quality to have as
He's
an
kind of an
Orthodox
ego-
Christian.
He's kind of an
That's
egotist, but just a
Yeah,
different way.
yeah,
Different way.
just in different ways. Yeah.
You want me to go make a coffee for her?
Different ways.
Hey, did you look into whether it's legal to have an underage?
Go make a bottle.
person
See if we can get her to do it that way.
during a live stream?
No.
Islam says it's fine. Yeah, it's all good.
Oh,
Yeah, he's like a grandpa by Islam standards.
that's true. Dancing Queen.
Hey, young Bob, you were mentioning that you're basically homeless right now.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to sell myself like every single mosque project.
Hang on,
just
what,
like
what,
under.
1 second. So before you even tell people about that, what would be the best way for people here to support you? Is that like Patreon or I see I'm on your Twitter page right now. Is it this cross and corner donate button?
Yeah, I'll quickly explain. So essentially, because my parents kicked me out, and whenever you're a young kid and you want to make money, you just lie about your identity. I can't do that on like Gifts and Go or GoFundMe. So I have a website that was kind of used for my activism work, which I don't directly benefit from. So go on crossandcorner.org/donate. You can kind of help me there. That'd be greatly appreciated.
I'm
It's
going
the
to
best
add
way
the
to get to me.
I grabbed the link, so I'm going to add the link to the video description. Support young Bob here. And link there. So, guys, you got a 17-year-old. He's been absolutely crushing the Dawagandists, causing them to flee in terror, running to police like a bunch of scared little girls. This guy's coming in and we can't deal with him. Yeah, so he's 17. Imagine what this young guy is capable of in the future. Good guy to support, I would say. I would guess this would be, I wanted to decide who to support. This seems like a good young man to support, especially since he's in kind of a transitional phase where he's still young, but he's been kicked out and he's having to scrounge around, and he's still not even technically an adult yet. So this would be a good time to help him out for a while here.
I'm a man, David. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Get out of here, man.
Yeah, it's like so. Let's see. So, all right, we're gonna talk about Ijaz now. We're gonna talk about Ijaz. And
Hey, why is Saif Talk in the chat crying, man? What is going on?
yeah, I thought that. I saw Saif Talk, and he said, "Don't make fun of Muhammad." And I was about to start just blasting Muhammad, but I looked, and it's not even his real. It's not his real account. It's a fake account. That's why I didn't care.
But the thing is, the handle goes back to the actual @Saif Talk, which is the actual real @Saif Talk. I don't understand how that works. Huh.
Yeah,
life is the best
I
of
clicked on go
diseases.
to channel, and it came up a channel that was made like a month or two ago.
Hmm,
So,
interesting.
so sometimes that could just be someone who's trying to get us to make fun of Muhammad, and they're like, "Ha, let me pretend to be Saif Talk, telling these guys not to make fun of Muhammad, just so they'll start making fun of Muhammad." And so it's actually not even a Muslim a lot of the time. But
Wait, why did your parents kick you out, young Bob?
Okay. So, I've been doing this for 2 years, as I said. Like parents typically, well, they were supportive in that my skills were being put to use, but that was as far as it went. Just because, well, look at it from a parent's point of view, you're putting your son into risk. So they were like, we agree. There's some things that you ultimately can't do. But if you can make this economically feasible by your second year of college, like for example, you're able to do this like a full-time ministry work, you can quit your McDonald's job, which I've now had to do due to the fact that, well, where I'm currently being housed right now is incredibly far from where my home was and my work was, obviously. But yeah, I have a
But got a
tragic
bottle
story
ready
for
to go.
you. She actually left our house because she believed that us supporting Brexit to leave the European Union was far right thuggish behavior. So, incredibly weird situation, like to leave a European
Awesome.
contingent is somehow comparable to being part of the far right. Anyways, um, cut back until, and I'll say this for free. Tommy Robinson, I greatly appreciate you contacting me just to see how I am. But after he started reposting a lot of my content on X, she kind of caught wind of my moves out there in the political and religious scenery, and my parents caved in. They said you can either stay and you can have the police um, and prevent put on your back. And prevent, by the way, for the US audience, is an anti-terrorist watchdog organization. And essentially, because Islam is so high on every single terrorist watch list, they tried to fluff up the far right numbers by decreasing the threshold of what they consider far right. So being a nationalist, which of course most people are if you ask them, is considered potentially a gateway to the far right. I've had people be labeled a threat to British democracy by Prevent, saying I'm Israel high. So you do see problems with censorship on the
Crazy.
conservative front. So they gave me that, or I could just leave. And I was like, you know what? I really like this work. I think it'd be a good character test. Also, I wouldn't want to be like essentially banned from working in the public sector because I got reported. So you know what? I'm just gonna pack my bags and leave. Cut back. This was like a week ago or so, and I went public with it because my auntie doxed my information. I was like, you know what? I don't want to like put it in the center of everything. I'd rather give it some time. I have no animosity towards the people within my own family, because I'm unlike them. I don't dock supposedly vulnerable, groomed people into fascism. Um, I gave them the ultimate. I said, look, give it a week and then I'll post it. So I posted it. I explained my situation, and again, the support has been immense. Thank you so much. If it weren't for the fact that I kind of had been doing this for the longest amount of time, I'd have probably been sleeping under like the next underpass. So like, God bless everyone who's like
Yeah,
given their
Chloe Young
support.
Bob.
It's greatly appreciated. And what you're going to expect from me is consistency. I really want to continue doing this if it's either for Turning Point UK, at Speaker's Corner, or my own, like, I don't know, journalistic work, if you want to call it that.
yeah, guys.
Wow.
So link is in the description box. Be sure to sign up to support Young Bob. In fact, I'll go ahead and say it. I'll go ahead and say it. If you're like, I can't support this young guy because I'm supporting the apostate prophet, you have my full permission to say, you know what? I'm canceling my support for the apostate prophet, and I'm going to support young Bob instead.
Yeah,
You
go
have my
support Young Bob.
stamp of approval and my blessing upon that.
Yeah, I'll take her. See if she takes the bottle.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
Thank you, Apostate. You're really trying to
Yeah,
sell this
she might
fake
be okay.
humility on you.
Did you bring another little red panda?
Okay.
Okay, so we wanted to
Oh,
talk
I love
about
it. I
Jaws
love red.
doxing people. Let's take a couple super chats real quick, and then
Hold
we
up, hold
will.
up. I have one more question. One more question. Wait, young Bob. I don't know if people know the story, but how did you become young Bob?
They already explained it. We already
Big
explained it
Bob
17
and
times. Huh?
Did you already say
uh,
it?
okay. Well, I'll say it for you just because, of course, things need to go down the chain narration. So essentially,
It was
people
narrated,
are
but
racist.
Sorry,
They
go ahead.
see black hair and white skin, and they accuse me of being Bob's son. They will.
Okay.
Mhm.
It's funny. These are the same guys who would scream racist if you said anything to them, but they're any white guy is clearly the son of Bob. Uh,
The son of Bob.
I'm gonna accuse every brown guy of just being the son of Muhammad Hijab now from now on.
are you Muhammad Hijab's son? No.
Yeah.
But how do you know? What is it? From one of his
What?
Um, you wouldn't even know. Yeah, I forget who this was. We were talking. This is Giant DOC, and we were talking about they were quoting some Muslim scholar, and this guy was so famous for all his mutta kids that he had to actually give all his kids a list of his mutta wives so that they wouldn't accidentally sleep with someone that their father had slept with or someone who's related to them or something like this. Anyway, weird, fun stuff.
That's a serious concern, man.
Yeah. Trav Matthews says, didn't Blogging Theology, so
Hey,
that is
you're
Paul
good.
Williams, call out Ijaz for this a few years ago? Yeah, we're going to check out the video. And if I recall correctly, what Paul Williams, and to his credit, he said he actually exposed, if I recall correctly, but I think it was Paul Williams' theology. He said when all this stuff came out about Ijaz doxing people and so on, he said that years earlier,
Where'd the spit cloth go?
Ijaz had come up to him with like some sort of notebook that he's keeping tabs and finding all the personal information and so on of all the critics of Islam. And I've got my notebook, I've got my file on where all these people are, and I've got all their information. I know where their family members are at and stuff like this. And it's like he was like preparing for the future when we take over, and we'll be able to go find all these guys. And like Paul Williams was like, "What? Why are you doing that, man? Why are you doing that?" So it's like it was too weird even for Paul Williams, and that's saying something. But yep, that is Ijaz. Ijaz. Too weird for Paul Williams.
He's a gay Muslim. So,
Yeah, that's some wild stuff. But yeah, so Ijaz just obsessed with tracking people's personal information and stuff. Obsessed with you because you're a young guy who gets attention, and he's been struggling for decades now to get attention and can't get any attention. Also, he's probably a sick pervert who is like, "Ooh, this guy has no beard. That means it's not even gay if I'm attracted to him. He doesn't have a beard yet." So really creepy dude. Anyway, we're gonna check out that video from a few years ago to show what he did before, and then we'll get into what just happened to you.
Spit it all over the place.
That's classic. I'm gonna steal that, Jack Ray. By the way, shout out to Jack Ray and to Zane for the Apologetics Roadshow memberships. Cool stuff. But I should have said before. I should have said before you guys put that in that you should go and support Young Bob. Let's see. So David Wood is Mossad agent. Sheikh TikTok said so. Always believe Sheikh TikTok. David live for less than 2 minutes already. 10 times more views than Ali Dawa's usual 30. Also, AP has a Minecraft server in his Discord. David, come play Minecraft then. No, I'd have to learn to play Minecraft. You want to play Call of Duty Black Ops Zombie mode? I'll play that. But yeah, it is sad for Ali Dawa that he does these live streams now, and they'll get like 20 or 30 views, people watching live. Anyway, I can't. Maybe people are catching on. Anyway,
Watching the
interesting fact my
TV.
dad was in communist Hungary during the 1980s. The only group who were allowed to protest were the Palestinians. That's a coincidence there. Hi, guys. Brave young man Bob. What hopes do you have for UK? Can we win this fight? If so, how? That's for you, buddy.
It's interesting. I don't think there's ever a time where like everyone's identically like happy with the ideology that they have in its purest form. So I think there are pendulums swing within the United Kingdom and the rest of Western Europe. Whether that momentum can continue outside of it being fashionable within like the media, we'll see. Because I have a heavy suspicion that a lot of the activism done in the United Kingdom, a lot of the voting intentions is incredibly reactionary to whether it's popular on social media. The same is true with the Muslims as well. That's the way that they kind of infiltrate and radicalize people when Islam is fashionable on social media. You saw that with Andrew Tate, for example. So
Mhm.
there is a hope. There are people like me.
Andrew
whether we
Tate
like it or
being a
not,
Muslim is
still
ridiculous.
ultimately up to the British public. but I do see a very good situation in which,
Although
for
it
example,
suits
at
him.
Thomas Robinson's Unite the Kingdom March, right? I'll be attending that, and there's events like that which I think could ultimately demonstrate the intentions of the British people.
And I just want to know.
Did you hear that? There's hope. There are people like me.
Yeah. But I have to say, that's exactly what I was thinking. Everyone who's watching. So I've made a couple videos recently where I'm talking about like sort of reading people to find out what the weaknesses are, what the weak spots are, and like people are constantly giving you information and so on. But think, everyone who's flipping out, everyone is flipping out. Oh, what are we going to do about Islam? Oh no, what are we going to do? These guys, they're going and preaching dawah. They're praying in the streets. They've got the highest birth rates. They're taking over. Look at what they're terrified of, and do that. What are they terrified of? You've already seen some of the things. Young Bob here is showing you exactly what they're terrified of. They're terrified of a 17-year-old who knows the dawah script and can school them on it. They're terrified. They'll run to police. Look at Muhammad Hijab. Why does he try to sue anyone who they can't handle criticism? If I saw a group that under no circumstances can deal with one word of criticism, and they have to try every version of gymnastics they can do to silence people from I'd probably start figuring out what they're so worried about. Why can't these guys deal with criticism? You want to know how you deal with Islam? Yes, there's all sorts of things you have to deal with. You have to deal with political issues and terrorist threats. And there's all sorts of stuff you want. What actually will make Islam crumble is a bunch of Christians learning to defend against the dawah script and learning to criticize Islam and learning the Islamic dilemma. Islam will crumble.
Hey, love.
Get an army of young Bobs.
Did you bring the bottle warmer down from upstairs?
It won't be over. There'll be a bunch of tantrums.
Yeah.
There'll be a bunch of tantrums. There'll be violent backlashes and so on.
It made it cold since I had to refill the water.
Make Islam crumble. It's all right there.
I refilled the water on the formula maker, and it came out too cold. I wanted you to get the bottle warmer from upstairs and warm this bottle up if you wanted to. If you could. But she's okay right now. She just would drink it for a little bit, and then I was feeling it. It was just really cold.
But guess what? It's pretty easy, guys. It's pretty easy to deal with this stuff.
What?
Let's see. For months, I thought young
Bob was
Bob when he was young, and all these videos are old. I was like, why do they show old vids? So they thought these are actually Bob from Speaker's Corner when he's young, and all these old videos are resurfacing. They're like, wow, he was awesome even when he was young.
Whoa, he was crushing it back then.
He was even more based when he was young.
Now he's kind of lame.
Don't give me an ego, David.
Can you do al-Zut? Can you do al-Zut debate with a Muslim? What road Momo? Yeah, if a Muslim wants to debate what road Muhammad on the night of al-Zut, I'll do it. I agree. I already agree. When are we getting the video on al-Zut? Gave Muhammad the stamina of 30 minutes.
No, I'll take it.
Hey, young Bob. You didn't.
Because I might give it back to you. She thinks seems content. Not like.
Yeah, so young Bob. We got these.
Nah, I worry about it.
Yeah, I know. I used them at Speaker's Corner. Don't worry.
I mean, it wouldn't be bad to have it down here. But...
Then you have these passages about Muhammad.
Yeah, it's over on her dresser or something like that.
Inspiring philosophy. He was just talking about something else in general. He said it was a belief. It was a belief. He said he's going to get me the sources. He said it was a belief in the ancient world that you could actually like inject your manliness into another person. Right?
What?
And so this is part of the process. Getting banged by guys and stuff is like making you more masculine and stuff. I was like, wait a minute. If you can actually show me that belief was anywhere near Arabia, that kind of makes sense. It's Muhammad's out in the desert getting of a man, and then this gave him the sexual strength of 30 men and allowed him to go and do all this stuff. So anyway,
Muhammad roids, bro. That's how you kind of got jacked back in the day.
Yep. Zut roids.
Put that.
You know, Muslims would be drop shipping that if that was an actual thing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
So someone says does this guy have a channel I can follow? So yeah, I don't. Do you have your own channel? Because I always see you on like other people's channels.
Yeah,
Speaker's Corner.
Young Bob Studios. Don't expect much from a homeless guy, but yeah, I post sometimes.
All right, so there. Was the real reason Muhammad needed the stamina of 30 men due to him being ridden by Al Zut so much? And Diha, yes, yes. Oh, this is messed up. I'm thinking of doing like a commercial.
Awesome.
Like back in the day, they'd have a commercial. That was me before I started using Weeder Protein Powder 5000. Look at me now, right? Like this was me. Get vocab. This was me, Prophet Muhammad, before I got al Zutin. And then it's like some little weakling, and
Should you get Bob? You get big Bob. It's like this is me when I'm.
let's see. Sonny says, oh, I think this is from earlier, but Sonny said, does Young Bob have a Patreon or something? So I think that was before I posted the link to his site. It's nice to hear from a nice, well-spoken young man instead of some Americans and a Turk yelling about everything.
Yeah, I agree.
That's true. They like you better than AP. High functioning OCD over here. I don't like being attacked, but I try to help out when I can. God bless you, Young Bob.
Thank you.
That's good. High functioning is where it's at.
Billy was showing.
I was just about to ask about you, AP.
Me? Why would you ask about me?
Yeah, why? Look what the cat human dragged in. If Young Bob isn't smart, I'm a whole dumbass.
Or maybe you're just not autistic.
Look at what the cat dragged in. A cat human. Says higher than the angels. The Quran confirms the
That lifts up so easy. I don't.
is a prophet.
Yeah.
Pretending that it doesn't confirm our scriptures. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Islamic dilemma. Hey, Young Bob, are people? We follow stuff online and so on. So lots of people are using the Islamic dilemma who weren't using it before this.
It screams good.
Catching on. Is that true over in the UK too?
Yeah, I'll be honest. It's like American TV shows. Like for whatever reason, it finds its way into the United Kingdom. You guys have essentially taken over like TikTok in terms of the algorithm. So essentially, everything you say in America kind of goes in terms of UK. Like people, I don't want to say laity, but people who consume this content. So yeah, it's just as popular in the UK.
That is good to know. Wow. Hey, that's cool. You just said, hey, we just think we're.
I have to find it and figure out how to do it.
Bob's like, hey, everyone's paying attention to this stuff in the UK. That is good. With great power comes great responsibility.
Roku.
Now give us money.
I will handle this. I will handle this with the appropriate level of
Yeah.
relentlessness. Young Bob, you are such a special gem in Christianity.
Thank you. I don't know how to
Yeah, probably.
compliments yet, but yeah.
But I
Appreciate it.
don't know that you can do mirroring with tablets.
Insult them in return.
All right.
Sorry to hear you got kicked out. I'm 23 and my mom won't talk to me for a year now, so I can imagine what you're going through. Praying for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that emotionally. I don't know. Maybe I'm like a psychopath like David here, but like it didn't really emotionally impress me. I mean, again, like I've just been desensitized to this form of censorship within the United Kingdom, and maybe it testifies to the fact that we're extremely Orwellian in the United Kingdom to a point where it doesn't surprise anyone. Now, there's an individual called James Harvey, and I'll just quickly mention him. He did a migrant hotel protest with me in Diss in Norfolk, and he's facing potentially 2 years in prison for calling a refugee who had sexually exploited a young woman foreign filth. Now, I'm not saying that because he's foreign, he's filthy, but by saying that someone who exploited the UK refugee system is filthy and also a foreigner. He's facing 2 years in prison. So this form of censorship is nothing new. I got off light. I mean, optically, it looks difficult to arrest a 17-year-old. Like, imagine a mugshot of me, 17 autistic, like smiling like that. So they can't nick me, I don't suppose, but things personally in your family can, and that's because the whole UK system has been indoctrinated into this understanding of being intolerant towards ideas that disagree with you.
I have to. There's not a lot of British words that I wish we used in America, but like wanker is one of them, right? People don't use that word over there, but they use it over here. But so you have certain words that I was like, hey, that would be cool. But saying, this dude got nicked. That's like that's like cool. We don't say that. No one says that over here. So it's actually that's one of the words. I might start just using these words.
Well, go on, man. We'll have a good relationship, right? Like we'll split the bridge between United Kingdom and United States, and you can just nick language from me.
I will. Young
What I
Bob.
like about the UK is how everyone says "cheers, mate."
Yeah. I asked you what you think about the UK, Apostate Prophet. The first time I spoke to you, I was like, it's okay. It's pretty miserable. I went down Whitechapel, and it's to what do you expect about Islamification. I was like, yeah, thanks for saying a lot about my country, Apostate.
When did I say that? Was that during the conference?
Yeah, it was during, that's the first thing you said to me.
Really?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because after
It was like 10 seconds ago, man. What?
I don't know, man. After that during the conference, maybe that morning, I was like, things were a little bit wild because we had just finished the whole thing with Whitechapel and all that. But at the end of the day at the conference, and then the next day after that, I actually felt very, very positive and very good about the UK and about the people. In fact, I even recorded a little video which I kind of want to put out in with some edits in which I expressed how I feel very sympathetic toward the fight that people are putting up now for the UK, and I feel and I want to help and all that, and I actually take back some of the stuff that I said because I feel that a lot of people are fighting for the UK, and it makes me proud to see actually, So yeah,
Hey,
I'm
that's
just saying
actually.
that to be right with you.
Yeah, that's cool. As far as the cheers, mate, that is cool. Cheers in the United States, cheers would be something you say if you're just tapping drinks and just hey, cheers, cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, you don't say it like
It's a
bye
form of
or anything.
appreciation in the UK.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, and so AP has called for temporary cessation of hostilities as the UK is trying to figure out their way and so on. And I will keep all comments about a couple of farmers with pitchforks defeating the entire British army.
Okay, buddy. Why is it called the White House?
You're complaining again.
Wait a second. Let me go back to that one. Lord's Need said, Young Bob, please consider putting this activism stuff off until you can support yourself. I have to say, too late. I mean, he's already 17, so it's right around the corner. He's got a narrow. He has to worry about this year. He has to worry about this year. But it's too late to back. It's too late to back out for like the year. You're already going full force. So.
Yeah, like I don't even know what's going on with my college, to be honest with you, because they made a report against me to prevent. They were gonna deny my second year, but I don't know what's going on with that. Look, it's that type of rational thinking that never really goes in the mind of young Bob. So I appreciate it. I probably will take it into consideration, but right now, I don't think that's a viable option. But it's probably the best possible thing for a young boy like me. But not everyone's like me, so I don't know what to tell you.
You need to seriously start just dialing
That guy is Young Bob.
Anytime anyone disagrees with you or
He's in the UK.
just instantly, what are you doing? I'm autistic. I don't know any better. And
Young Bob.
That's annoying me when people say that, man.
B.O.B. Young Bob.
I would be shouting that from the rooftops every
17.
Like, listen, here are 77 reasons your religion is false. Well, let me respond. Oh, look at him attacking me. I'm autistic. I would totally do that all the
time. Yeah,
Muhammad did it his time to be
he's a Christian that attacks Islam. Well, not attacks, but debates Islamists.
Probably something like that.
I'm just illiterate. I'm getting banged.
He's autistic.
They banged me. They banged me in the desert. They banged me in the desert.
They banged me in the desert.
It'd be funny. Hey, we need a Life of Muhammad movie where it's him just using that tactic his entire life, and he actually takes over. Like no one can criticize him because he's like, they banged me in the desert, and I'm illiterate, and they're like, oh, we can't criticize this poor guy, and then he takes over. Robin Hood said, I thought AP had shaved, and that was him all along. Bob, 60-year-old man here, proud, impressed, and happy for you. Keep it up. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, young Bob isn't Bob's son?
Well,
adoption, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah. Farmer, why do you
Yes, that's exactly what she's doing.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be funny if this entire time you're talking about getting kicked out.
No, because when she was on my shoulder, she wanted to look that way, not towards me.
And he's like, he's getting too much attention. He's getting
Yeah,
more.
like I'm becoming too big for Bob. That's actually kind of fun because like Bob, very much big respect for him, but he's not as political as me. So when I started engaging in politics, they didn't know who Bob was. They just know young Bob.
Yeah, and
So,
now people are like, oh, we know Bob. Yes, we know Bob. We know the great young Bob. It's like, wait a minute. I'm talking about Bob. Who?
there's a first Bob. That's crazy.
Let's see. We have God Bless You, Bob. Watch Milk Bar. Watch Milk Bar TV Tucker compilation. It's amazing. I will check that out. Milk Bar puts out awesome stuff. No one makes better compilation videos than Milk Bar. Nice to see you all, and Young Bob. See you Sunday. Young Bob Studio. Oh yeah,
Actually,
Sunday
I'm doing I'm doing
Fall for the propaganda.
a little event in Southampton at a migrant hotel. So I'm growing too big for Speaker's Corner. I'm doing what the Muslims do: transition my career.
Not that it's a bad thing. It's just
things outside of it. Jokes aside, I won't be able on Sunday. I'll be doing something else. Be fighting age economic migrants, unfortunately.
So Bruh says, did someone say
just where was she for these Israeli kids when all that happened to them on the 7th?
Have Al Zut shirts on. That's the picture here.
Yeah,
Bob is young. Can I
he's
offer McMutta meals? Oh, that's a guy.
really pushing this Palestine
AP, I
crap.
challenge you to cat human mubahala. To accept.
I accept.
Culture pushback from US to UK. One of us. One of us. One of us. That's true. Either be a wanker or a master debater. What is this? People are weird, man.
Oh no! That's in reference to like the South Park episode on Turning Point USA. They call Charlie Kirk the master debater, and it's Cartman just in his bed. And of course, we know what that word means when you add it together.
I've been using that joke for years.
I actually invented that. So
the first time I said it by accident. It was right before a debate with Shabir Ali in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I was speaking in the church. I was speaking in the church either before the debate or after the debate, day before the debate or day after the debate or something like that. I was speaking in a church and was in the pastor's office. And then I had a friend there. I'm in the pastor's office and he's like, hey, I don't know anything about these debates and stuff. So what's going to go on? Are you going to crush the guy or what's going on? And I go, well, the thing is, if you have a really experienced debater, it's kind of hard. He's not going to get crushed. I said, if you take a master debater like Shabir, right? And I wasn't even thinking, right? I wasn't even thinking. But you saw these guys' eyes like light up when I said something like, they're like this when I said master debater. And all of a sudden my friend goes, well, that's not what I would think of when I think of a master debater. And I'm like, oh, you had to say it, man. Anyway. So, yeah, that's an old thing, apparently. South Park stealing my accidental. You already mentioned Tommy, but
yeah, he privately DM'd me. He's been supporting me ever since I was made homeless. So, look, he's admitted that the previous ways in which he engaged with the people he's trying to do investigative journalism to was wrong or misunderstood, or there should be a degree of wisdom applied there. But I can honestly, wholeheartedly defend Tommy just because personally he seems principled enough and it's consistent with his media portrayal. So no, all I can say is God bless Tommy Robinson. I hope like apostate prophet he comes to Eastern Orthodoxy. But like we can settle on Catholicism if that's the whole thing with his rosary coming out of prison.
Yeah, he's a Irish background or something like that. So that would
wait, you're Orthodox?
I told you this during the
I just told you the 17 times.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I remember that.
Watch, next time he talks to you, he'll be like, wait, are you Orthodox?
Wait, are you autistic? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of on the same page with Tommy Robinson. It's like they'll be like, oh, but look at what he did in 12 years ago, and look what he did here and stuff. And it's like, look what he's done, man. Look, if you were to take everything the guy's done and put it in some scales, it's like, okay, he screwed up a couple of times, which he acknowledged, but other than that, it's like, the side of the positive stuff that he's done for the UK, it's like falls. That side like falls to the floor on the scales. This guy's been doing a lot, and I mean, gosh, just repeatedly going to prison over and over and over again, trying to save a nation that really doesn't want to be saved. That's a dude actually like overtime laying his life down for his country. That deserves respect.
That is
Uh,
true. Some would say, don't save her. She doesn't want to be saved.
Where are we at? Job and his call for Mubakala with Aisha. He's still running, sniveling from a girl. And is there any interest in an in-house debate topic? Who has done more damage to Islam, Muhammad Hijab or Yasser Qadi? That would be tough. That'd be a tough one. Hijab's done more as far as scandals and stuff like that to expose how depraved these guys are behind the scenes. But Yasser Qadi, I mean, you're talking about. I mean, he doesn't do it regularly. He just comes out one day, completely crushes everything Muslims believe about the Quran, and then waits 5 years, and then completely crushes what they believe about the Hadith. So he's not as consistent as Hijab, but
yeah, he's kind of like Cardi B, you know.
On the contrary, young Bob, keep doing God's work. Yes, so you have it here.
Thank you. I will be.
Am I tripping, or did I just watch a video of Muhammad Hijab vehemently arguing with other Muslims that the Quran has been changed? Really?
It's the Quran. Look, to give the guy a defense, right? Whenever he talks to like the Quran onlys, I don't know if he's PR trained or not, but he tries to make these blunders in suggesting that without the hadiths or like the corpuses of like outside of the Quran, you just can't be a Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yet, but I mean, just think about this. You got the Quran only guys. They're saying we need to stay away from this hadith stuff and just go with what the speech of Allah is. And then the regular ordinary Muslims will blast that position, say, "Haha, you can't even understand your book. You can't even understand your book without the hadith." But then that means that they need the hadith and all these other sources to even understand Islam and to do Islam right. But then you got Sheikh Yasser Qadi, and these hadith it can't stand up to any sort of academic scrutiny. So I just have to accept them by blind faith as a good Muslim. But I can't, academically, you can't take this stuff seriously. Well, that's the stuff you need in order for Islam to function and in order to understand the Quran. So it's like they're all destroying themselves. Like each position,
they eat themselves alive.
And it is fun.
Why whining, baby?
We need a movie called Simple Momo, where Momo is just Simple Jack from Tropic Thunder.
Hey, I'll try to heat this bottle up then.
Careful, you're gonna make my eyes rain.
Be right back.
The apple doesn't bob far from the tree. That's true.
If I was his son.
If only the UK put young Bob up in a hotel to profess Jesus Christ to the Muslim immigrants with security. That would be cool. Just like, hey, I'm homeless now. My family, I can't go back to my family, so I gotta be in this hotel too.
I actually so with the UK to just trespass as walking when you're not wanted, it's a civil matter. You can't be like arrested for it, and the police can't enforce it. So I actually gone to these hotels a few times before. Some obviously been not like sometimes I just bring a PA system and start like blasting like Save Europe music and these hotels. It's all good fun. I'd recommend it. Um, but yeah, like it's a complete hypocrisy. You have like homeless people and veterans, which of course throughout the Western world have been exploited in terms of the labor, then kind of disregarded by the system. And then you're seeing the Labour government kind of favor undocumented people who may have a genuine claim to asylum, but a claim to asylum is under this understanding that the country that you're going to is better, but the UK isn't getting better. In fact, we're in a managed decline. So right now, you're potentially moving to a country which doesn't have like this long-term endurance. It's like going and renting a house, knowing that you can't rent it for like more than a year, but you in fact want to stay there for like 10.
Now we're on the topic of Ijaz Ahmed. I've got this video. This video's old. I remember watching this years ago. If I recall, I should have checked to see if this is the bleeped version. Some people posted the bleeped version where they're bleeping out some of the language of Ijaz, some of the racist and foul language that this Dawa champ engages in. I don't know if
We'll
I will
bleep it ourselves.
it's going to be too late. I'm going to assume everyone you're about to hear some really foul language. Just assume that. So this is Ijaz Ahmed. Apparently, he was in some online debates and so on, and he let the truth come out about what he's like. So this is Ijaz Ahmed. His channel's like Ijaz the Trini or something like that. And this is the guy who just doxed young Bob as well. He doxed a 17-year-old Christian. Let's see what he said back in the day.
Why is he just calling himself father of Yeshua?
I, Ijaz, can call myself whatever the hell that I want. It has nothing to do with your God. I don't care who you think you are. You have no place or authority to tell me I can't use my own personal name.
It's interesting him saying you can't make him. You can't tell him what not to call himself. Like he's right. It's just weird that he understands that because Ijaz, you can't stop me from calling your fake prophet a child molesting, murdering rapist, right?
You can't also like force me to be known by my real name, by the way. Like I call myself Young Bob, you can't then by the same logic dox my real name and use it.
But he did. But let's see where he goes with this.
You wetback piece of shit, go fuck your.
Whoa, that escalated quickly. I told you. Okay, this is the unbleeped version, ladies and gentlemen. So notice he instantly got racist. If I recall correctly, later on, when after he's doxing people, he starts complaining that they're interpreting it negatively because they're racists. And anyway, I just backed it up so we can listen to Ijaz in all his unholy Islamic glory.
Father of Yeshua.
I, Ijaz, can call myself whatever the hell that I want. It has nothing to do with your God. I don't care who you think you are. You have no place or authority to tell me I can't use my own personal name. So you wetback piece of shit, go fuck yourself. Do you understand?
Bro, I'm too young not to laugh at this. I'm sorry.
I don't even know if you're allowed to hear this stuff, young Bob.
Oh well, Adam, bro. Only Allah knows. Play the film.
Oh boy, sitting here and Bob's gonna run. I never heard these words before. Oh.
How innocent do you think this generation is, David? My goodness, you're a grandpa, man.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Can I also just appreciate, by the way, what's with the Islamic dad bod? Has this like a scientific phenomena we've kind of studied within apologetics yet? Like, why is every like Muslim dahi just got this dad bod, man?
Yeah, you think they'd all be shredded with all the preparation for a jihad?
Yeah, like with all the al-zoot, man.
And your mother was a whore.
Whoa!
Ooh.
Call someone's mother a whore.
That's really escalating brutally, man.
Now we
Guys,
know that
guys,
was
hold on.
allowed for.
Ibn Anwar, hold on.
Okay, they bleeped that out.
I think it was what?
Hold up, this says Ijaz reads the city, state, date of birth, then the full name of the Christian's sister.
That's
So
a
he
hadith chain, right?
Yeah, he doxes the Christian's sister. You imagine this? Hey, we're debating. Hey, let me give the home address of your sister.
Sister.
Oh
Check
wow,
it.
you're doxing me. You.
Right.
Oh my
So-
goodness, how pathetic
no,
are you
no.
that you think you doxing
No.
me is somehow?
I'm not going to dox you. What's
You
going to
just
happen
did.
next? That's not doxing. That's public information already. What's going to come
No, that's
next
doxing.
is what you
Actually,
should be
Jazz,
worried
I
about.
have to.
What an idiot! He thinks, hey, if I can hunt you down and follow you, and then look up your home address. Oh, it's public information because I found it.
I found it online, therefore it's public information.
Yeah, what an idiot,
Could you
man.
apply that to any other law? Like, oh yeah, this this kitchen knife I bought from the store, like, therefore it's all right to like stab you, mate. Oh, what about like explicit material of children? Oh, I found it on the internet, so that's completely fine.
Therefore it's okay.
He did the same thing to me on Twitter. He said that oh well, your auntie did it, so I can just like relay this information. I was like, okay, but you're still doxing me because first of all, she's got like 10 followers on X. You have thousands, so of course you're just relaying it in the effort of trying to essentially emphasize the fact that this is actually my information.
Silence.
Recitations of the Holy Quran.
As you force
It
my
is.
hand, that is, yeah,
That's not cool,
It's
dude.
public
That is not cool at
information.
all.
Public information. You will be found.
It is public
Full stop.
information, but it wasn't intended for
Did
you.
you just say
No,
you will be found? Did he literally
it will
say
be
that? You
found.
will be.
It said it gives the address and then says you will be found.
What's he got a
You
squirrel
will
voice for? Like he's got a punchable voice cord. That's the only thing I discussed with Hijaz before.
be found. Full stop.
Okay. See how threatening
Ariel,
that
just
sounds?
know I denounced that. Ariel, just know I denounced that.
He said you will be found. Do you see how threatening that is?
How is that threatening? I pray that God finds you and saves you. Amen.
No, you
I
said
want
no.
you to.
By the way, you catch that? Gives the address, says you will be found, and then when they say, "Dude, that you're giving someone's address and saying you will be found, that's a threat," he says, "No, no, no. I'm saying God will find you, and I hope He saves you."
They love doing this, you know. This
Yeah,
is.
no, yeah.
I'm
It's
going
like
to
pathetic.
say it. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it, but Muslims love doing this. Muslims frequently, many of the Dawa guys, they love doing this kind of stuff. They love to deceptively, act like, oh no, I didn't mean that. I meant this.
Mm-hmm.
They just love this kind of stuff because there is no ounce of honesty. Because they don't really care about honesty. Because they're not bound to be honest. They can just do whatever they want.
Just making some coffee.
How's the
Is
Quran,
it my
David?
Hmm?
How's the Quran, David? Tastes
Oh,
good?
this is a different one. It's
Well,
the
I'm
same
gonna
one,
fall
but it
asleep
tastes
probably,
different.
so yeah.
Like
All right.
it's not worse,
Sorry.
but it tastes different.
Sorry.
It's funny that I actually remember what the other one tastes like, and I'm like, no, this one tastes different. Anyway, weird stuff.
Ijaz, you are not. Ijaz, please.
That's not
Ijaz,
cool.
I'm
That
being
is not
Ijaz.
cool.
Come on.
Yeah,
That is
Ijaz.
not cool, Jazz.
And he's given his date of birth.
That
That's
is
sick.
Like, listen, Ijaz, you know how much I am very anti-Christian. I mean, I just said all churches in Israel should be destroyed, right? But the thing is, Ijaz, I have to be honest with you. I'm sorry, I can't condone that. I really can't, because then you're
Don't
lower.
worry.
Because now you are
That
on
is
the same level.
disgusting.
Don't
Disgusting,
worry.
dude.
Don't
I'm not
worry.
gonna call you disgusting,
This.
but like, just don't do that.
No, I will.
Yassi. Hold on, Yassi.
Oh.
Hold on,
Ijaz,
hold
you
on.
are a disgusting pig. You are a
Hold
dog,
on.
dude. You are a pure
Hold on.
dog. You are a filthy
Hold on.
dog, dude.
It's next. I want
Whoa! Reads the full name of his sister and then says she's next.
For Islam?
That's what he's probably gonna say.
you to know something,
Wow.
Ariel. I want you to
Really?
know something, Ariel.
All right.
This
Okay.
kind of behavior, insulting threats, I don't like it.
Next.
Right.
So my sister is next. If
I am
you were to
He
going
ever
to
do
didn't
something to
threaten
my
any of
sister,
us. Ijaz, I have to
I
be honest with you. He
guarantee
did
you,
not.
guys,
I
hold
guarantee
on,
you,
hold on,
you would wake
hold
up
on,
in the middle
hold
of
on,
next week if
hold
you were
on,
to do
hold on,
something,
hold
or
on.
if anything were to happen to my
Listen to
sister.
guys. Can you listen to my words? I pray for you and your sister and your family that God protects you and saves you. Amen. I'm just
Bingo!
He's a
saying.
scrawny little Muslim.
You unbelievable, dude. You are unbelievable.
No, hold on. Let me finish
You
my
are
statement.
disgusting, dude.
Why did you interpret that to be a threat? Is it because I'm brown and a Muslim?
You hear that?
Because you put the address and the name of that person out there. Why in the world would you need to do that to invoke Allah?
Actually, could you please do that to me? Because I think that'd be incredibly hilarious. Like, you can't dox the information of family when they've rejected you, firstly. Secondly, you've got a very funny voice. So this man threatening me is like a new form of ASMR for me. So hey, Jazz, please do that for me. I'm incredibly just do that.
Yeah. So I mean, think about how screwed up this dude is. So he doxes a dude, date of birth, name, location, address, sister, all this stuff, and says, you're next, your sister's next, all this stuff. And then, hey, this is, oh, are you saying because I'm brown? I'm just saying, I hope Allah saves you. What
No,
an
he was
evil
just
lying scumbag.
he was just trying to relay the information about her address to Allah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he was trying to do, man. You're not getting it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
No,
God.
no, Ijaz,
Dude,
please,
I'm brown
please,
too. I don't know
Ijaz, please,
what
I
in the world
mean,
you're
go,
talking
Yeah, and then he pulls a race card, and he's a dude who called the guy a wetback.
Well, why did you assume it was a threat? Why can't I pray for their safety?
Because you
Dude.
kind of read out like his information on a piece.
That is, dude.
I'm going to be
This is
honest
not
with you.
cool.
This part I can condone. Ariel is actually not even that bad of a Christian, right? I mean, well, not even that bad of a person. Like the thing
What
is, okay.
do you
I've
think
been
there's
to
a
Ariel's
threshold for
server roasting
Christianity to be
vegetables, right?
doxxed? I'm not being funny, but like he's saying he's an all right Christian. What should you believe that if you reach a certain threshold of critiquing your prophet, you just deserve for your life to be ruined?
An awful, disgusting server. But out
Oh,
of all the
Ariel.
people there, at least
Ariel,
Ariel,
by
like,
the way.
can, or at least Ariel can interact like normal people, unlike people like who scream on the mic every single second, and also just doxing, in general, and especially in this situation, I cannot condone this. I am sorry, I can't, like really,
It is like
I mean, I don't even, I just can't, I can't.
literally. This
This guy's gonna defend him.
I'm not citing anyone on this, all right? But I've known Ajaz
If you
more
guys had any
longer than.
decency,
Hold on,
you would
can you
stop
shut
associating
up,
with each other.
Ariel? May I
No, I will
say
not shut up,
something?
dude.
The
Let me say
nasally
something.
voices just
Okay, let me
continue. What the
explain
hell?
something. Okay, let me give my 2 cents if I can. Thank you very much. So I've known Ajaz more than 10 years, longer than any of you, right? He knows me, I know him quite well. Okay, we share the same teacher, Dr. Shabir Ali, right?
He's doing a bang up job.
He's pulling rank. That's what he's doing.
Doing a bang up job here, students, Severe.
He is no threat to anyone, right? Number one.
I don't know.
Number two, he is going through a lot of challenges medically, and
Yeah, some
You hear this?
He's mentally challenged. Yeah.
Yeah, think. He just doxed the dude, doxed his sister, all this stuff, and then the defense is, oh, but he's not a threat, and he's not going to hurt anyone, and he's got some medical difficulties.
He's kind of retarded, so you can't really, blame
Well,
him.
like, does his teacher just pick up like nasally congested, like unthreatening Muslims to kind of teach? Because like I do agree that physically Hijaz is not threatening, but like the information that
Yeah,
there's
he's
other
sharing
Muslims
the
outside.
information.
Yeah.
Yeah, the point of doxing someone is, if you want to kill this person, here it is. Here's how you find them. I just put that out there. It's not. No one thinks that Jaws is going to show up and do anything.
He might eat you though, to be fair.
Like, what would a Jaws do? What's he, like, 4 feet tall? Anyway,
in that condition
all right,
should not be
this
done
is a
as dumb as
fact.
he is.
This is a fact, right? And everyone
Yeah,
knows
that makes
this,
what he does
right?
worse because somebody in his condition should know better.
Yeah, hold on. What? So I'm just assuring you that
That makes
everything
him
is
a
going to be
worse person.
okay. Everything is
I'll
going to be
realize that.
okay. All right. He's no harm to
Don't use his
anyone.
medical situation as an excuse.
He's no harm to you or anyone. Nothing
He's
bad is going to happen to you. I'm quite sure of that. He is not that kind of person.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, then,
Yeah,
then
I
I
don't.
guess there's no
Nobody,
problem there.
don't listen.
oh, okay. He could have just doxed everyone because he's not going to do anything because he's a pathetic little weakling
Oh,
coward.
okay. Well, that makes sense.
Look at the little guy. Look at the little Jaddy. Look at you. You can't do anything. You couldn't
Hey,
harm anyone.
hey, you know what's funny?
Don't spit it. No, swallow. Oh, he's a
That
spitter,
is
not a
that
swallow.
that is a big Quran. Um, don't worry, I still got some Quran bits. Um, I don't know if they still call him this, but for years they were calling him Penfold, which you're too young to know what Penfold is, young Bob. But I was watching Danger Mouse when I was a kid, and Penfold was absolutely adorable. But matter of fact, well, as we're playing this, I'll pull up a picture of Penfold so everyone can check the resemblance.
Everybody, there's no need to any look up people's personal information. I'm not even saying this to Jazz now. Any of you who even saved his personal
like
information, delete it. Right? It's not for you.
I'm
Okay.
not interested in his personal
Well,
information or
because
anyone's
some of
personal
people,
information.
well, some of you
Guys,
Yeah.
people are going to try and get him
guys,
removed from you. Some of you people
guys,
will, honestly. Yeah.
guys. So,
Sorry,
Yossi
Ijaz.
Snacks.
Sorry,
One second.
Ijaz. I need to speak very fast. I don't agree per se with what Ijaz said, Yoshi, but I
Mm.
remember waking up one day while you were like investigating someone. So So who are you really to speak?
Okay, but I wasn't reading out somebody's personal information in like a massive voice call.
Hey, there you go. There's Penfold, everyone.
I watched that show when I was a kid. I used to play like flash games of that show, yeah, because the name ringed a bell. Yeah.
That might be a reboot or something like this, because Danger Mouse is way back in the day. But yeah, everyone,
Yeah, I think they rebooted it.
that's Penfold, and you can definitely see the resemblance to Ijaz.
Mhm.
That's why they called him Penfold.
100% resemblance.
Secondly, like Rashida, first of all,
You
I'm not.
searching
I
for it
wasn't
for
even
a
using it as a threat.
reason. I just think you're not the right person to speak about this. That's all I'm saying.
Okay,
Try,
we're having a
enjoy.
conversation with this person. Hold on, Rashida. We are having a conversation with this person, in like in like a call with like 20 other people. Okay, and when you now read out his personal information, I'm not even saying it was an intent to threaten him. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying don't do it. Like literally, like it is literally basically.
Wall just literally threatened to kill me in the text. So again,
Oh, look at that on the screen. So yeah, the guy says after Ijaz doxes the dude, he actually gets threatened in the text. Yeah, I'm going to come do something. Now we know probably not going to do it, but that's the point of the doxing.
But the thing is, he's probably harmless. He's probably not going to do anything. So therefore, what's the problem?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He's
man,
probably
I'm
just
gonna
afraid
release
that
your.
he probably
I'm
just
gonna release
trying
your
to break the law.
information. AP, I'm gonna release your information because I'm an innocent 17-year-old autistic boy, and David said to pull rank on autism whenever it's given
Yeah,
opportunity.
no one can criticize you. And I bear
You have a
witness.
mental
I bear
condition,
witness.
it's okay.
I bear witness that young Bob, he just doesn't know any better. And young Bob's harmless. AP, you're gonna be scared if young Bob shows up at your house. Of course not. So what are you worrying about him doxing you?
Exactly.
Wait, hold on. Are you threatening to kill? Who threatening?
Hang on.
Allah wall.
Let me see.
In the text.
Let me see.
What?
What's a child? Is
It says Ariel, come beef with me on Twitter if you want to be killed by Al Awal Muhajdin.
What?
real combi with me if you want to be killed by Al Muhajid.
LOL. LOL Mujahideen.
What's up with these? These are the graphics that came with iMovie, but like 20 years ago, and still using those.
You find out like the Islamic community as well, like their editing software, even in Speaker's Corner, is just crap. Go to any like Islamic filmer at Speaker's Corner, their editing is subpar.
Burn! You hear that? You hear that, Dawagandis? Your editing is subpar. Boom.
Pretty rude.
Sick burn. Oh, dang. Then posts someone's phone number in the chat.
The institutionalization of Canon Law 1083.
By the way, Ijaz just mentioned my phone number. He just put my phone number in the chat because he's a disgusting human being.
Yep, he is.
He's an absolute disgusting human being.
But he's
And
harmless.
by the way, he called me a wetback earlier in the thing, and I didn't mention it until now. Dude's a disgusting pig, and I hope that God has mercy upon him on that day, because if he doesn't, then he will have a lot to answer for. God have mercy upon this guy. This guy is disgusting.
Evil.
Yeah, I'm not even interested in your phone number. I'm interested in your responses if you can provide it. So do you have any evidence prior to the institutionalization of any canon law with regards to the age of marriage? The one that is specified is 14, right? Age of consent itself is ambiguous.
Dude, the conversation just ended because this guy is just a disgusting pig.
Yeah, can you imagine this? I mean,
anyway, let's get back to the topic.
Yeah, you got the Muslim. Hey, just ignore the fact that he's doxing you, doxing your sister, posting your phone number, all this stuff, and you're being threatened. Ignore all that, man. We're having a debate. And
also, can we just appreciate that the discussion was on child marriage? This is so on topic for Islam.
I just love it.
Perfect. That is perfect.
I would normally answer all your questions, but this guy's one of the worst people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, you
I just gotta be
can say that about almost every Dawa guy.
That's pretty rude.
Besides from one at Speaker's Corner, Siraj just
and the fact
looks inbred.
Very rude.
associating with them says volumes. This guy's
Just
disgusting.
one thing.
Okay,
Yeah, just
can
one
I say
thing, though.
something here? Look,
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
not
Go
I'm not
ahead.
exactly sure what's going on here, but if Abu Isa is Ijaz, I don't know if this is trolling, but okay, if that's his real phone number, that's not. I mean, I think okay. Look, this guy Ariel, he is an ignorant class clown. He is a filthy mouth, middle school age
Yeah.
person of low IQ. He's a nasty person. However, that does not him being a nasty person or ignorant individual. That does not give you the right to put his phone number. Now, I don't know if that's his real phone number or not, but if that is his real phone number, okay, that you did the wrong thing. You should not have done that. I'm sorry.
I don't
This
think
guy's
it
a
is.
disgusting pig, dude.
Yeah.
Absolute
According to
disgusting
who?
pig.
Yeah, I think during this time, Ijaz worked for Shabir Ali, and then Shabir had to cut ties with him. Said, nope, can't be associated with us because everyone blasts him like, look, Shabir, look what your boy's doing.
But where? Go ahead.
Oh, go
sorry.
on.
No, you go.
He has no.
No, Elders first.
I wouldn't dare.
No, go on. Come on, little cat human. You can go.
I'm not talking.
No. After you.
I'm not gonna say anything.
No, I'm not going to say anything.
No. Okay,
No.
David, continue.
Hey, go on.
Same.
I love the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. You curse him, Allah knows best. Full stop.
Your prophet's burning in hell, roasting in hell, with people stabbing him in his backside with pitchforks. But he probably liked that, so they might need to stop. Reminds
That's
him of
true.
the night of Al-Zut.
Yeah, so I
You mock
request
the name of
let's not dox
Jesus?
people.
I don't like that. Don't mock the name of Jesus like that. You don't insult the Prophet. You don't insult the Jewish God. We have rules and civilization here. People who behave
Yeah,
like
you don't
that,
follow
may
them.
God guide
You're not
them.
a decent human being, dude. You are not a decent human being.
It's always amazing. Like the worst. There's a problem with Dawa in general. The worst people on the planet, the most vile, evil scumbags, are the ones telling us that we have to do what they say. And here's what you have to do. We don't have to do what you say.
Why would
There's
you
no
do
You're
that?
not
reason to insult me. There's no reason
Ariel.
to insult me.
Ariel.
Dude, I'm just
Listen,
telling you what you're doing.
I'm not.
I'm just
I'm not
describing what
accepting
you're
his
doing.
behavior, whatever.
I am
I'm
doing
not.
what your teacher Sam Shamoon taught me to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
So
doxes
be just,
people.
be
Is that
consistent.
what's
You
going
don't
on?
like it,
Show
stop
me
the
the
hand.
evidence.
No,
Dude,
actually,
why'd
actually,
you
Can
do
you
it though?
confirm?
Why'd you do it?
Look,
Why'd you do it?
I'm
Can
sorry. Actually, I'm
can
sorry.
can
I'm sorry.
can you
This is
confirm?
not correct. I have to agree with
Hold
you,
on,
with you
hold
here.
on, Aziz. Hold on, Aziz. Hold on.
Actually, you're not helping
Can you
matters. Look, I
confirm?
don't have a
Hold on,
problem.
Aziz.
I just want to say something. Look, I don't have a problem if you
All right, this goes on for a few more minutes, but this looks like they're. I don't know if there's anything more.
What a weird conversation, man.
Weird, wild stuff. So that was a Jaws from a few years ago, and people basically heard about a Jaws from that because otherwise people just don't pay any attention to him. I know he goes on people's. I'm not sure which live streams, but I've seen him on people's live streams before.
Dower Wives. I actually talked to him. The only time I talked to him was on Dower Wives, and immediately after having a discussion with me, they kicked me early, of course. He just spoke to a Quran only and like casually insinuated that you dox him. So his behavior is consistent. It's just more subtle now.
What an evil loser. All right, Bob. So that video again continued for a couple more minutes, but I think we had enough. So why don't you go ahead and tell us anything else about the situation now? Now I posted on Twitter. That would have been early this morning. I posted on Twitter a warning because I'm, if you've crossed the line, I will frequently give you an opportunity to correct course before I have to make I have to carry out the consequences. But what did I say here? I said on Twitter, I said yesterday, Ijaz the Trini doxed young Bob, a Christian teenager, in a pathetic attempt to silence him. Young Bob will be joining me tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for a live stream. Any fans of Ijaz, all 7 of you, have until the live stream starts to convince Ijaz to take down every single post or reply on his X page that references young Bob in any way. Failure to comply for any reason will be interpreted by me as a request to record and post videos of my dog devouring bacon-wrapped Quran pages.
May I add, it also results in me ripping up the Quran right here, just because I want to continue.
Don't bother complaining to me if Ijaz decides that his fragile ego is more important than the Quran. As always, the consequences of your actions are on you. And that's not according to me, that is according to Surah 6, verse 108 of the Quran. Powerful.
I had a good laugh reading it there. I appreciated it.
I have to say, I actually stole that warning from COs in jail, correctional officers in jail.
On my situation, he's a bit schizophrenic, Hijaz, our dear Newman boy, because for whatever reason he posted it, deleted it, then posted it again with the receipts of my actual information. But we just keep on going back and forth. I keep on insulting him. I was like, consider your boy like Mohammed Hijab, who's having a nice drink and a beer at the beach. You know, maybe put some oil on his back and concern yourself with him instead of debating with a schoolboy. By the way, the challenge is still out there. I want to have an engaged discussion with Hijaz, and the debate topic is, what is worse? Far-right radicalization. Of course, that's the thing that he accused me of. That's ultimately not true, but I think that far-right radicalization, which is just essentially incel behavior on Discord, is substantially better than radical jihadi Islam. So that's the discussion out there. We can have a discussion on that. But that's essentially it. I'm more concerned about Tranny Auntie. Please, if you're watching this, of course I blocked you and anything else, so this is a neutral platform. Firstly, there's no animosity between me and you. Secondly, you're better when you're a woman. Thirdly, please remove the information from supposedly a vulnerable 17-year-old radicalized fascist. And besides from that, just thanks for the platform. Really appreciate it. What the hell happened to your hair, man? You look like a goth kid from the 2000s.
I don't think he heard you because he didn't have his headphones on.
I have to repeat it. When you had your hair down like that, it made you look like a goth kid from like a 2000 sitcom.
I am a goth kid from a 2000 sitcom.
Okay.
I'm scrolling through Ijaz's X feed because
he's still gonna rip the Quran regardless of whether he deleted it.
We already did that. I already chewed up and spit out a page of the Quran and so on. I'm talking about specifically the bacon wrapped Quran pages. I've never done that.
I think you're lying about that. I think you've done that before.
Just for fun, privately.
Yeah. There's a better way of ripping it, my friend. Hey, by the way, is that the free Quran that Muslim Cowboy is? I ordered a bunch of free Qurans on a website, and one of them looks identical. Where'd you get the Quran from?
I think I got this there was for like $10. They sent a bunch of Qurans. I don't know.
No, because I got one. Muslim Cowboy is a free Quran website, and it looks like identical to that. I bought like a
really?
Quran. Yeah,
free Qurans.
You can get free Qurans like delivered to your house. I thought a good video idea would be like, how many free Qurans can you get sent to your doorstep? You can get sent loads.
Let me see, free Qurans. Request for free Qurans. It would be nice if I could get like a whole bunch of free Qurans, like 50 free Qurans, and then I could just use them all for ripping them up. That'd be nice.
Yeah, you can go do. I'm not recommending it for the sake of a political career, but I am disclosing that you get free Qurans out there, man. Get your free Qurans today, man.
I'm looking for.
I think he deleted it because I can't find it anywhere.
I'm looking. I said everything referencing you, so I'm looking for anything referencing you at all. Is there AP? Is there a shortcut to see any references to anything? Oh, hang on. A woman named Jess said, "Quit doxing young children like young Bob, you Islamist loser." And Ijaz responded, using his name from his YouTube as doxing, you're calling 17, 18-year-old young child, this is pathetic. You seem deluded and triggered. I win again and again. Thank you for the free engagement. That's enough, Ijaz. That's enough. I said anything that's referencing young Bob, take it down. Found you responding to someone about young Bob, and therefore, as
Get
I
the
said,
fire on.
I am interpreting that as a request to post videos of my dog eating bacon wrapped Quran pages. I'm heading out in the morning, so I won't have time to do that right now. But Ijaz, be posting a video for you next week. I will make sure everyone knows that it's because you refused to take down about young Bob, and therefore that you asked it. You literally requested it. This is what's important. It's like if you actually care, do. Here's what I'm gonna do. Do not take down tweets, and you just nope. I'm not doing it.
Oh, I'm checking it right now. So here are some of his tweets about young Bob. He's not a child. He emancipated himself from his parents and therefore is no longer a child. He isn't a kid. He ran from me. He's a scam artist trying to rage bait Muslims. He has a learning disability aside from his autism. Uh, he may be an embarrassment. Well,
Thank you. Very flattering.
He's obviously not very interested in preventing any harm to the Quran. So.
Yeah, all I heard, every word you just said, AP. All I heard was, "I want videos of a dog eating bacon wrapped Quran pages. My name is Ijaz Ahmed, aka
And I want a
Penfold."
donkey taking a dump on the Quran. Yeah, we should arrange that.
Get the donkeying the Quran, man. Set that up. We should scam people. Set up a GoFundMe.
Anyway, guys,
Listen to you all the time.
have to say, whatever else you want to whine about in the future, Ijaz or whatever, can't say I didn't warn you and give you an opportunity to rescue the Quran. But more info in my video.
You could have saved the Quran. You could have been the.
Could have saved the Quran. He chose not to. He chose not to. All right. Crazy stuff. So yeah, guys, that was Ijaz refused to take down the stuff. He did take down the I think doxing tweet or something like this, but he keeps running his mouth and sharing screenshots and this and that. So all right. All right. This was your decision. Consequences of your decision, Ijaz. So we'll get to that next week, ladies and gentlemen. In the meantime, let's take the rest of these super chats and then get any final thoughts, and I'll go pack. As a wetback myself, that was funny. I hope you're not saying his racist comments were funny, because it's not. Ijaz makes borders AP is the best of map redrawers.
That's true.
Here you go, young Bob. Ask the young bloke. His name is Young Bob. Why do all UK apologists bend over backwards to avoid Rome? It seems they all lean towards apostolic tradition but evade Peter in favor of ortho-broism, despite being Westerners.
I mean, it's not something to say that like ortho bro stock is like increased. I will admit that for free. I don't know what's with the like. I don't know why there's no trad Rome culture. It's more towards the American side, but maybe it's just because, well, yes, it is true. Westerners were traditionally high church Protestants and Catholics, and because that was the religious state that they were in during the deterioration of the West, but then they kind of relate Catholicism to the full old West, in which, of course, that isn't true. That's just a correlation, not the relationship of facts. So unintentionally, they move towards more of an exotic form of Christianity, which is just Eastern Orthodoxy, and happens also to be the one true Catholic and Apostolic Church. There it is.
I think no matter what people choose, I think they should just be part of the one true Catholic and Apostolic Church.
You said that on your Twitter, and everyone just accused you of being a Catholic lord.
I don't even want to say anything about it because so many people fell for it. But yeah.
Here's here's a limerick. Muhammad Hijab went to court, yet the truth he did try to contort. He screamed and he sang, but just looked like a wang. Now McMuta he cannot afford.
Well, there's a free position at McDonald's now. You can now generously take that if you live near the area. Of course, Hijaz doxed it, so you now know where the McDonald's is. So go over there.
RKZ says Allah is not all knowing. He needs name and address. Yes, he does to go find someone. When you deface the Quran, please give the reason. We did, but yes, in my video of the dog, there will be clear reason. Apparently, Allah needs a name and address to evoke His judgment. Yes, it helps.
Just eating up quick.
Like a death note.
Yes, this is Allah. Please state a name and address to use the number pad. Now I'm compelled to clean my nose with the Quran.
A lot of baby acting.
Pretty gross. Allah seems like a much weaker and evil Santa. At least Santa always knows where you are. Yeah, I mean Allah sounds like Loki from North mythology. Or like a genie in a bottle.
He low-key sounds like Loki.
Every time Muhammad wanted something, he would just rub the bottle. Not like he rubbed the men of Al-Zut, but he'd rub the bottle, and then Allah would pop out and say, "Yes, what is your bidding, master?" Hijaz sounds like a weak, treacherous grandmother. That's pretty good. Weak, treacherous grandmother is a good description of Hijaz.
What?
There's a new line of halal supplements for Muslim men that just came out called Al-Zuts. And Muhammad recommends you take them up your keep.
You have enough?
What's wrong with people, man?
Do you want burp now or no?
You know what? They should be on the show. Not
Want more?
I have 3 Qurans ready here. It may get cold tonight, or I may have an emergency. My stomach feels weird. Don't worry about it. Just drink a bunch of camel pea. Your stomach will be good to go. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute, young Bob. Your parents kicked you out of your house? Was this linked to the issue I saw on SoCo not too long ago? Sorry, I am lost.
Few issues. Well, I've had issues with my discrimination for a while. I mean, quick sub story. I had a Muslim boy beat me up in my college for the content I do at Speaker's Corner a few months ago. And my college kicked me out for like 3 months. And these bouncers didn't deduct like the absence when they forcefully kicked me out. And now they're refusing my second year of college. So it's not like discrimination's new. They kind of relate to each other, being the same, that you're just essentially kicking out a 17-year-old for the matter of his beliefs.
Careful, Ijaz will use the video to locate you.
Please, I want him to come to my house. Please, we'll get him in the gym, bro. We'll sort him out.
Muslim is using Al-Zut as an insult in the chat. Muslim was using Al-Zut as an insult. That'd be funny.
How will Al-Zut you all?
AP, someone said Apus in chat. Rip a page, please.
Of course I will.
Only for £2.
Hey, we should start a new
yourself
thing.
cheap,
like,
man.
For every super chat, I will rip up a Quran page. We should start such a campaign.
Nice. If AP is such a good map painter, although not in the way Daniel Hakikachu is a map painter, then why does Constantinople still have a roach infestation?
I usually draw maps like Daniel Hakikachu.
David, please don't feed the dog Quran. Dogs rule. Well, I wasn't going to, but that decision was on them. The UK orthohose, what? Orthohose will be meek and mild to the jihadis, but the Latin rights won't turn the other cheek. We'll tell them to far and blah blah themselves. Also, the one true church is where Peter is.
We agree.
Oh, nice.
Why does every single Catholic just think that we just reject Peter? Like, we believe that he is the first apostle by which all of the apostles received the keys, right? So it's not exactly that we reject that Peter is the first order by which all of the apostles received the keys. We revere Peter with Paul. It's just that we just don't accept some of the ecclesiastical authorities given to him. But look, because I've become more political, of course, I've kind of rolled down my rhetoric. Like, for example, do you actually think that like you shouting at someone online for being like an ortho bro, you really think that's going to convince him that Catholicism's true? Not really. I've matured pretty quickly in terms of like my evangelism of other people. Like, for example, in Speaker's Corner, there are a lot of people like Protestants and Catholics and whatnot, but they're already engaged on debate, bro, with like the Muslims, right? So if you try to randomly interject and say, well, he's also a heretic and you're the heretic of Ishmael, you're both wrong. Well, of course, firstly, I agree more with the Protestant, and secondly, that's not going to convince the Protestant that Eastern Orthodoxy is true. So.
Precisely. Precisely. I shan't engage in any of these discussions about this church and that church. I plan to do so neither at this point nor in the future.
So, Timothy Freeman, you can take your popery somewhere else. The Eastern Orthodox Protestant Brotherhood Alliance will not be broken.
Hey, I did not say that. Go for
will not be broken by your popery. Eric says, if we are being charitable in how we understand the Quran, is it possible to say that confirm means confirm what is right and correct what is wrong?
Yes.
I assume you're joking. If you're not joking, let me know, but I assume you're joking there. When you destroy Quran, please give reason. Already did. Man, how many times are you going to say it? Take my money. Rip a page. Uh-oh, this was specifically a request, AP.
Canadian dollars, how much that translate to US money? Again, charge premiums for ripping a Quran. You're threatening your life with that.
I have to make sure that it's only one page, not 2 pages. One request, 1 page. Powerful.
There we go. There we go. What do we have here? God bless you guys. Hey, David, you guys said you'll be in Times Square tomorrow, but where at in Times Square? Me and my mom want to meet everyone.
Where at in Times Square? It's like a tiny place. When people talk to me in the past about Times Square, I thought, whoa, Times Square sounds like a huge place. It's like
He's so steep.
It's as small as my room, man.
No, it's not. And you have streets that kind of go in multiple directions and so on. And there's the issue of it can be very, very crowded. It's a place called the Red Steps. So if you look up the Red Steps,
he's peeking out of the corner of her eye.
The Red Steps are where that's where people go to
You're
get tickets.
okay, baby.
And what happens is you have like a big Broadway show and stuff.
Smirk at me.
They sell tickets for the big Broadway shows, online and at the office and stuff. But then any tickets left over because they want to fill seats. It's basically a place in Times Square where if there's a show that night, whatever shows are going on that night, they'll give cheap tickets to the shows based on whatever's left.
You burp.
Get cheap tickets. Anyway, that's the actual spot. So you'll see there's some like bleachers there, and it's a
Sleep anymore.
Just look up Red Steps. But yep, I will see you there. Me.
Good to see you.
Goat Hub says, "Hey, Orthodox or Catholic, at least we ain't Oh, sorry, David. Very rude. Very rude.
At least we're not Muslim.
Alhamdulillah.
RKZ Edit says, I knew young Bob was a good guy. Protestant represent.
Hey, don't take my compliments to be too far, man. I'm going to have to start taking liberties.
Didn't Peter Jibril write that song? Zoot Hammer? Yep, that's a good one. Zoot Hammer? Mo got zooted. Ijaz style. Ijaz style. Yellow tsunami of apostasy incoming. This is all true. And Eric says, I was serious. I'm Eastern Orthodox, but how to respond to Muslims? Oh, okay. So you're serious. Can confirm mean basically confirming certain teachings that you agree with, but disconfirming others?
You just rolling it out the other side of your mouth, little girl.
That is an argument for us. That's telling us why we should believe in Muhammad. Why should we believe in Muhammad and the Quran? Because Muhammad and the Quran are confirming our scriptures. Now, if what that's really saying is, oh, I'm confirming parts that I agree with, but disconfirming other parts, why would that be impressive? Keep in mind, you can always just make an argument out of this for Muslims. If I came up to you and I said, hey, I'm a prophet, you want to know why you should believe in me? Because all the parts of your book that I agree with, and the parts I disagree with, I say those are wrong.
Can I also just drop in here? Just simply saying, well, because something agrees with a text, therefore it's a historical or preserved notion within a book, doesn't really work, right? So there's going to be, like, for example, the Torah, right? There are going to be passages within the Torah that says God is one. Now, I'm guessing if you go to a historian and say, hey, look, the Quran says that God is one, and it affirms generally the previous scriptures. So this verse within the Torah that says God is also one, is this therefore this automatically historically preserved? No, because of course there's always the open opportunity for someone to just go in and write that passage in. So a general affirmation is dishonest, doesn't work historically. There would be no real motivation to reveal this within the 7th century because, like David said, it's not impressive. And also, like, a general affirmation is like, typically when I say something is general, that there is more than one way in which it's true, and there's more than one way in which it's false. And a lot of the Muslims online, when I see, and maybe I'm just going off a tangent here, where they look like compare the Sea of Moses towards the Quran, like, it's not general because there's only two ways in which it's true. That's not what typically the word general means.
Yeah. So, Eric, the first issue would be, you're saying confirm actually means agreeing with parts and disagreeing with other parts or something like that. That would just be a terrible argument. Again, I could use the exact same argument about the Quran. I affirm parts of the Quran that I agree with, disconfirm other parts. What false prophet in history wouldn't use that same argument? So that's one. Then, but really, the main issue, apart from that, is you have to give, if you're just saying, oh, there's this, you don't have this word confirm that's just hanging out there in midair and it's not connected to anything else. And so you just say it means whatever it was. You have to come up with a meaning of confirm that actually makes sense of what the Quran is saying in context. And again, if you're saying just means confirms parts and doesn't confirm other parts, you Surah 2 verse 85, that's part of the context. Allah says if you only believe in parts and you reject other parts, he'll send you to hell. So that interpretation is off limits. That whatever he means by confirm, he can't possibly mean I'm confirming parts and disconfirming parts. Why? The Quran says he'll send you to hell for confirming parts and disconfirming other parts. It says he'll send you to hell for doing that. So these guys there's no basis for it. It's completely insane. And they're to the point where this is what they're grasping at. And a definition of a word that makes absolutely no sense in the context. But guess what? If you're going to do that, you can change the meaning of any word. Any word that the Quran could possibly use, you can say, oh, what he really means by that word is this other thing that he doesn't say. It's massive amount of innovation, and Muhammad says they're going to hell for it. Crazy stuff. Rid says, love your work, David. Used to watch you 10 years ago when I was 15 and broke. Now I'm 25 and still broke. Burger, burger, burger. Take all the burgers. I will use that for a burger tomorrow in Times Square. Sung to AC/DC's You Shook Me All Night Long chorus. I'll zoot. That actually fits. I'll zoots. Rode my whole night long. We'll have to figure out the mohoho. They really gave it to him. That works. That works, man. You win this battle, Ortho Pro Chomos. What the heck?
Hey, don't accuse me of ecumenism. I'm purely speaking practically here, my friend. To be honest with you, like, I'll say this, like, in the way that previously, like, Orthodox would extremely like separate itself from the world. Well, that's because at the time countries were typically divided by its religion, right? You can very much distinctively look at a Muslim country, Eastern Orthodox country, a Catholic country, and a Protestant country. But now you live in Western societies which kind of promote boiling points, in which case you have to deal with a community that has Muslims, Protestants, Catholics, and Eastern Orthodox, in which case, in a debate, do you want to concern yourself with also debating the Catholic,
You're just crying,
and also the Muslim on completely more severe doctrinal disputes? I know which one I'd prefer.
Yeah, but the important part of what Timmy said is that we've won this battle. So we've won this battle. Timothy acknowledges it. He agrees that Catholicism has been defeated by the Eastern Orthodox Protestant Brotherhood Alliance.
Which battle?
And everyone take note. The Eastern Orthodox Protestant Brotherhood Alliance is undefeated.
Which battle?
The one you started. Honest question. If heaven is outside our time and space, does that mean you can pray to yourself in heaven to intercede your prayer since it's outside Earth's time and space?
Okay, well, do you believe that you're going? Well, I think that like within the, I'm going to give a serious answer to your stupid question. Um, do you actually? Well, firstly, if you're assuming the intercession of prayer, that's just assuming that you believe in some sort of energetic justification, in which then you do not believe that you're always saved. You're in a state of justification now, so you can lose your salvation. And in which case, you're already assuming then that you'll be a saint in heaven, in which you also believe that forever you are now saved. So you're just Frankensteining Protestant theology and Eastern Orthodox theology. I don't know if one of you want to give a trolley answer to
That's actually a very, very good explanation. So I'm kind of impressed.
Now, I would have just been like, who thinks that you're going to be outside of time when you're in heaven? Like, you have lots of people would say God is outside time or something like that. But if you exist, you're temporal. Like you as a human being, God raises you and so on. If you exist in a spiritual way, or after you're resurrected and so on.
Now she has the hiccup.
You're created. So anyway, I don't know what everyone else believes about that, but
I know.
And finally, Protestants will conquer the world. You see, it's a valid point. Valid point.
I could go to so many places with that. Do you really think Christianity is meant to rule over the world? No way.
It will humiliate the kuffar.
It should.
All right, guys. I think we'll wrap up now. I'm going to go. I have to dry my laundry and then pack.
David's going to be in New York City tomorrow. I don't know. They're just going to be in Times Square, I guess. Yeah. He had a brother. Mm-hmm.
The exclave of Kaliningrad has always presented a threat to the rest of Europe. Owned by Russia, but separated from the mainland, it's a wild card that could end up being the dagger that Russia attempts to stab into the European heart. NATO needs to be ready, and the US is leading the charge to make sure that it is. Kaliningrad is on edge as Poland has welcomed the US 2nd Cavalry Regiment into the country. Armed to the teeth and ready to fight, the regiment working near Kaliningrad sends a clear message to Vladimir Putin. NATO is preparing for whatever Russia has planned. In August, the US Marines military YouTube channel reported that troops from America's 2nd Cavalry Regiment had started rolling into the Polish city of Orzysz. Arriving as part of NATO's Enhanced Forward Presence Operation, or EFP, the soldiers are helping to bolster NATO's eastern flank defenses by training a multinational team of NATO counterparts stationed in Poland. The reason why is simple, says the US Marines military channel. The Ukraine war is expected to escalate in 2025, and it may end up encompassing more of Europe. The 2nd Cavalry Regiment reported its entry into Poland on its Facebook page, explaining what it will be doing while stationed in the country. US Army soldiers from 2nd Cavalry Regiment supported Task Force Iron during the culminating CUAS exercise. Project Flytrap and Bemavo Piski training area, Poland. The post says.
Tried to. I gave her 3 ounces.
US-UK efforts to test new CUAS technologies and tactics that will shape future Allied operations. We'll dig a little deeper into what CUAS technologies and Project Flytrap mean later in the video. For now, it's enough to know that the 2nd Cavalry Regiment took part in joint training exercises with their Polish and UK counterparts, along with combat simulations and exercises that saw them integrate air and ground defenses to combat one of the biggest threats Russia now poses to NATO's eastern flank: drones. The US Marines military
She was taking the bottle until she pooped.
was accompanied by the addition of HIMARS mobile artillery rocket systems, advanced radar systems, and Stryker combat vehicles. It's all about strengthening NATO's defenses in Eastern Europe. And that brings us back to the EFP we mentioned a little earlier. According to NATO, the organization's presence in the East is a key part of its strengthened deterrence and defense posture. Created in 2017, just 3 years after Russia annexed Crimea, the EFP has become a NATO priority ever since Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022. The 2nd Cavalry Regiment's training focused on the EFP. However, this doesn't mean that the regiment is becoming a permanent fixture of the operation. As NATO explains, the EFP comprises 8 forward land forces, each of which is a multinational battle group made up of volunteer soldiers from NATO ally nations. Those groups rotate and work together with the national home defense forces in their host countries to provide an ever-present deterrent against anybody who might think about invading those countries. And by anybody, we of course mean Putin. Today, troops and personnel from NATO allies serve, train, and exercise together in the east of the alliance, representing a strong expression of unity and solidarity, NATO explains. Forces from contributing nations rotate in and out of the battle groups.
She needs burp. I didn't get the burp her afterwards.
Stationed in their home countries with the ability to deploy rapidly if needed. US Marines military offers a few more details, noting that the purpose of the EFP has evolved over time. When it was created, the operation was more of a symbolic deterrent against potential threats, rather than an active and dangerous force. It was a message sent to Putin that NATO could see what he'd done in Crimea and that it was taking steps to ensure he wouldn't be able to do the same elsewhere. However, it wasn't until the full-blown invasion of Ukraine and the revelations about how Russia approaches wars against other nations that resulted, the EFP gained true direction. The operation morphed from one focused on symbolism to a true deterrent made up of an active and combat-ready military force. Task Force Iron is part of that new deterrent. Led by the US military's 1st Armored Division, according to the Defense Visual Information Distribution Service, or DVIDS, Task Force Iron provides combat-credible forces to 8 countries. All of this is done as part of America's forward deployment in Europe, with the 8 countries Task Force Iron works with having been chosen based on the most immediate threats presented to them. Now that task force is training in Poland, and the 2nd Cavalry Regiment has joined the task force to bolster its strength and ensure NATO's EFP operation can become the deterrent it needs to be against a potential Russian invasion. Poland is certainly happy to welcome more US troops to its border near Kaliningrad. The Polish Defense Minister, Władysław Marcin Kosyniak-Kamysz, lauded what the arrival of the 2nd Cavalry Regiment means.
The only thing it does is piss off people in the other country and embolden them to fight. We know that to be a certainty these days. So I would highly doubt that the Ukrainians went out of their way to conduct an attack on civilians inside of Kursk, Belgrade, or Rostov-on-Don. And I would more so lean towards the fact that this was highly likely electronic warfare interference, because that will hijack a drone's controls and pretty much make them run rampant. They will glide or fall into something below them, maybe the city where the electronic warfare unit is operating out of, and then explode directly onto whatever it landed on top of. So I would say I would have to go with the 42%. I think that it generally has to do more so with electronic warfare interference than a directed Ukrainian attack against Russian civilians inside of the Russian frontier oblasts. We also were able to hear in Belgrade, speaking of which, that there were other drones that also ended up conducting similar actions. We were able to see here a Ukrainian drone pretty much landing in the middle of the street, which we can see right there. Man, that thing blew out
crazy,
some
though. It's
cinders.
Yeah, it blew out some cinders, but go back, replay this one more time. Like, I was trying to see something here real quick.
Also, by the way, why is that car already, like, messed up?
I don't know.
And also now the video isn't really playing. Okay, here we go. And there it is.
Damn, that's a big hit right there. Also, by the way, there is a typo in the poll. By the way, I was trying to check that real quick, but yeah, this thing right here got blown to shreds. By the way, and that car just got like not totaled, but it got messed up.
Yeah, but my question is, why was the back windshield already blown out? Like, I don't know if any of y'all are seeing that because there's like a watermark over it, but why is it already blown out, kind of? Anyways, moving on from that, we also got to see another clip here where another drone appears to have just fallen into the city of Belgrade. And then we got one more clip. This one was actually quite interesting because we can geolocate this practically perfectly. When we go into the city of Belgrade, you will see a larger stadium somewhere within the center of the city. And now I have to find it on air, and for some reason I'm always very tough at finding this stuff on air, although I try and pre-locate it so I can just zoom in on it directly once we need to see it. So really quickly, let me look for a football pitch. I've got to go find the Belgrade Stadium. Why in the world is this so tough to find on air, folks? I have no clue why. It's like every single night, folks, I go out of my way to try and pre-locate some of this stuff to be able to zoom in on it so that way when we're on air, it's like, wow, this guy does it so quick. That's really crazy. How does he do it? And it's usually through a decent bit of pre-preparation on this. And I'd be dipped, folks. I can't find it. Like, okay, hang on. It can't be that hard. It's a giant stadium. So let me think. If there was a giant stadium, they're going to put it in the middle of the city because it's a bread and circus kind of thing like they do here in America. So where in the world would this thing be? I'm going to give up on it. Let me just type it in. You know what? I'm going to cheat. Belgrade Stadium. And this ain't the stadium. Here it is. Okay, so here it is. There it was, right here. This is it. So the Ukrainian drone did end up slamming into the side of the stadium earlier today, which we could see in this clip right here.
Oh,
once again,
man, that Russian rap in the background has totally like changed the whole vibe of the thing. It went from just a terrible tragedy to a more of like a spectacle.
Gun officer, arrest me and search my life. Man. But anyways, the drone did fly directly into the side of the stadium and explode. But once again, an incredibly small explosive yield for the kind of building that's going after, and the building was not occupied when the drone hit. So I think, to be entirely honest with y'all, this has to do with more so electronic warfare interference at this point than anything. Outside of that, however, it does appear that the Ukrainian drone attacks of today were some of the largest of the conflict so far. And it does appear that the Russian Federation is coming under these sorts of attacks almost every other day or every day. And we're most likely expecting the Ukrainian armed forces will keep up this tempo throughout the duration of the war, as drone manufacturing has become one of the largest war industries inside the state of Ukraine, due to its ability to be cost effective and also greatly mitigate the casualties and fatalities seen within the Ukrainian armed forces, considering that the Ukrainian armed forces are working with a much smaller available manpower pool than the Russian Federation currently does at any given moment in the conflict, either currently or in the past. But outside of that, we have also been able to hear of some other significant developments that have been going on inside the Russian Federation, or largely more so, the Russian Federation and the United States of America. But before we get on into that, I do want to make sure that we talk about the large drone strike, because there has been a bit of a question out there by people, considering that the peace talks, there is apparently not going to be a talk held. We don't even really know what's going on in Anchorage anymore, but outside of that, considering that there's going to be a meeting or a photo op or something that's happening in Anchorage here soon, and that's happening here within the next several hours most likely, do a lot of people think that the United States signed off on this attack that the Ukrainians conducted today or not? And Matthew, what are people thinking about that, and what are you thinking about it as well?
All right. So the big question is, does the U.S. approve of these attacks? And it looks like 67% said yes, the USA does approve of these Ukrainian attacks on Russia, while 14% said no, the USA does not want Ukraine to attack, and 11% said I'm 50-50 on the question. And I would say you could bet your bottom dollar that the U.S. approves of these attacks, because the U.S., while they are like going through this whole like rigmarole with the diplomacy stuff that is really honestly quite tiring, in the background there are some real actions that are actually being taken against Russia when it comes to, for example, sanctioning the Indians for buying the Russian oil, also threatening to sanction China over that as well, also sending more billions of dollars of aid to Europe to sell to Ukraine. There are things going on in the background that the U.S. is actually doing to help Ukraine. So I would say in private, the U.S. probably does approve of these attacks. But in public, though, the yapping, it tells us something completely different. But I would say chalk it up to yapping. The U.S. probably does secretly approve of these attacks. So so I'm with a 67%. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to agree with the 67% as well. It's highly likely that the Ukrainians pre-coordinated this with the United States, and the United States gave them an approval to be able to do this. Considering that the Russian Federation did attempt a breakthrough near Mirnograd just a while ago, several days ago, and it was contained, it's highly likely that the Ukrainians also tried to make a counter to continue to show that the armed forces of Ukraine and the state of Ukraine are continuing on this conflict not from a position of weakness, but equally from a position of strength, much like the Russian Federation tried to show through the Mirnograd breakthrough, although that didn't really go anywhere, and now that group is possibly going to be encircled and destroyed in detail here very soon. But outside of that, I would generally have to say the U.S. did give them approval. And that actually brings us on into what's happening that would really lead for the Ukrainians to largely ask for approval from the United States before conducting this kind of action. The Russian Federation has been getting ready today for their little meeting in Anchorage, Alaska, and we actually got to see a video that supposedly was taken from a window on board the Russian Air Force One Ilyushin as it landed in Anchorage, Alaska. Actually, by the way, folks, I want to make this a little bit clear. This actually isn't the Russian Air Force One. This is a Russian Ilyushin 96 that was there before Putin arrived. That actually holds the security entourage, some members of the FSB, bodyguards, so on and so forth. This sort of thing is done whenever a world leader is on the move. Most world leaders of more significant countries generally do this. I don't want to say superpowers because the Russians sure as hell are not a superpower, but more significant countries usually have some sort of an entourage that arrives before their leader arrives to be able to exigency plans, sorts of things. Contingency planning is the best way to say it. That sort of a deal. That was the video that was taken here. But we can see the Ilyushin in Anchorage. And oddly enough, this Ilyushin did not arrive at Elmendorf Air Base. This actually arrived at Anchorage. So really quickly, let me go show you all this just to make sure that we get this out there a little bit better. This is the Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport, which this Ilyushin 96 was taxiing down. And we can actually see that based off of where it was moving, it actually appears that it was somewhere on this taxiway right here, near to, let's see, unfortunately I can't see what ramp this is, but it's near to runway 25 right. Let's see, exit 7L on 25 right, it appears, and it was moving from there near to this concourse right here, and most likely turning a right turn to find some sort of an isolated pad somewhere down here to be able to disembark from. Oddly enough,
also on these planes too was Putin's personal pooper scooper crew as well. The crew that goes around and collects the waste that Putin leaves behind, so that way no foreign intelligence service can collect any DNA samples or any type of identifying information. So they're also there as well. They don't want anybody to find out that the guy that's currently attending the meeting could be a body double, apparently.
They don't want anyone to know that there's a body double. But I guess that those people on that plane, Matthew, they actually get to say that their job is a pretty shitty job. They actually collect shit. It's like it's
No, you can leave her up. Well, you might.
gross. But also, by the way, I forgot to
You want me to hold her for a while? I just have to get up to go to the bathroom real quick.
does as well. Actually, most bodyguard services for most world leaders actually scoop the poop,
What?
because you can learn a lot from the poop. There's a lot of DNA held inside of it,
Does that
and
work
based
fine while I
off
can
when
go to
someone
sleep?
gets a hold of the poop, they can actually conduct a great deal of
Okay.
tests and figure out pretty much everything about that leader from a medical standpoint, possible from the poop. So generally, there is always a poop scooper somewhere inside of every single bodyguard service, because there also are some poop scoopers in the U.S. Secret Service. Although I don't really think that that's a high honored sort of a position to be put into, is the poop scooper. It is somewhat necessary, at least for national security and national defense. Although that's incredibly weird to say that scooping poop is a very important part of national defense and national security. That Ilyushin 96 that was seen in the video dropped off its detail and then immediately flew out of the Russian Federation to the Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky airfield inside of the Kamchatka Peninsula right after dropping these folks off, because the aircraft cannot stay here because of sanctions. So it appears that it had to leave immediately, and we are hearing that later on, Putin's jet is going to be, a Russian state jet landed in Alaska. This is another clip of the same Ilyushin 96 landing. Putin's jet has not arrived yet. Still want to make that clear. Putin's jet has not arrived yet. It's still on the way, but it will be here within the next coming hours. And we see the Ilyushin 96 coming on in.
Why do they need 4 engines for a single level wide body plane?
That's a great question, Matthew. That is an incredibly good question. The Russians, I believe, actually still follow older aviation laws, at least within their country, for air safety. That larger international aircraft like these have to have four engines because it was actually the law for a while, at least here in the United States, that any international airliner that flew international flights had to have more than two engines. And that's why back in the day, especially during the oil crises, the DC 10s and the MD 11s really took off because they had more than two engines, meaning that they could conduct international flights, but they didn't have four engines. So they were more fuel conservation minded in the best way, which made them more economical to operate. I know a lot of people know about the flaws of the DC-10 and also the MD-11, but the DC-10 had an issue of this crazy thing. It was called rapid depressurization, where the cargo doors would literally just blast open, and the plane would violently explode as a result of that and break up in flight. The MD-11 didn't necessarily have that issue. Very similar in design, mind you, to the DC-10. They're almost the same aircraft, but slightly different in some measurable ways. Nevertheless, I believe the Russian Federation still somewhat follows that law because they still have on most of their international aircraft four jet engines instead of two or three, which is a fairly interesting thing. It looks a lot like an Airbus A340 for that reason.
Yeah, it kind of does actually. It just looks really dated, honestly. It looks very dated. I just don't like the Aleutian planes. I'm just not a huge fan.
Yeah, I don't like Illusion. I really don't like any Russian aircraft. They all look pretty rough, and they always look like a little bit backwards. But nevertheless, we also were able to hear at the same time as the first Russian security teams were making their way to Anchorage, we also were able to see that the security entourage for the United States was also on the way. Which is quite a large one. Pretty much all of these aircraft that we're seeing on flight radar here, including about four C-17s, a Department of State 737, and also what
I
appears to
think
be
there's
some other additional supporting aircraft, were all on their way to Anchorage, Alaska. So quite a like the Russians have, I think, one or two Aleutians that dropped off some security details leading up to the meeting. America had four C-17s, just at a minimum, including a Department of State 737. And all of this is preceding Air Force One, which Air Force One also has an entirely separate entourage that follows directly along with it while it's in flight. So pretty crazy to see the difference. The Russians, Maddie, they pretend, they front like they're a superpower, but America brings four C-17s just because. One of these C-17s, by the way, folks, actually is carrying the Beast, the armored limo, most likely, because they usually take that to wherever the president's heading, so that way if he has to travel around on the ground for some planned or unforeseen reason, the armored limousine will be available. So that most likely is in one of the C-17s, and there's most likely a great deal of additional equipment, Suburbans, such vehicles that are used by the Secret Service that are also armored, that are being transported on these C-17s. Also, the
All I hear is dollar signs when I hear that. Like it's so expensive to move the president anywhere because it's all like it's such a huge operation, and it has to be that way for every president. It's not unique to this current one or anything. It's always that way. It costs a hell of a lot of money and planning to do this. But I think the Russians might have a lighter, I guess, entourage, I guess you could say, or a lighter presence because they simply probably don't have the raw amount of money needed to waste on something like that. So they got to lighten the load a bit when they go somewhere.
Yeah, they got to lighten the load because they're just broke. America's got the money to spend, and also these C-17s have nothing better to do. In reality, most of them are just kind of sitting around at Andrews Air Force Base because you can actually see that that's where they all took off from. And that promises us that that was the Secret Service because a lot of the Secret Service are headquartered out of Washington, D.C., although they do have offices around the United States of America. Because while the Secret Service is charged with the responsibility of protecting the President of the United States, one of their other big jobs outside of protecting the president is also detecting counterfeit bills, which is a fairly significant thing. So they also have department offices and branches throughout the entirety of the United States of America. And also, a little fun fact for all of y'all, up until recently, I believe the early 2000s, the U.S. Secret Service was not under the Department of, I believe it was the what is it, Matthew? It's like the Department, the National Security Administration, the NSA, something like that. I believe that they were
Secret
actually
Service is always separate.
they're still under the Department of the Treasury.
I'm not sure about that. Let me check real quick. U.S. Secret Service under Treasury. Let's see about that. let's see here. Until Secret Service was no longer a part of the Treasury back in 2003. So Secret Service has been independent for a long time.
But for the longest time, just to let y'all know, the Secret Service was actually a branch, an armed branch of the Department of the Treasury. In 2003, after the whole 9/11 thing, and there was a whole restructuring of how the security services worked in America, they were then detached from the Department of the Treasury, and now I think they're under the NSA or something similar.
Homeland Security. That's what they're currently
Yeah.
under, by the way. I was incorrect.
Yeah, the Department of Homeland Security. I was trying to think of that, man. The only one I could think of was the NSA, but they are under the Department of the Homeland Security now. So, a little bit interesting fact about the Secret Service. But let me check here really quickly. Let's see if we can see. Yep, there we are. There's a C-17 sitting there at Joint Base Andrews, most likely just for the specific fact of loading on any sort of government vehicles or personnel and then transporting them out. Also, the Department of State 737 is probably carrying, I would assume, the Secretary of State, a couple of other important individuals such as that, their entourage, translators, all those sorts of things. The people who deal with the more standard of living kind of a deal, or more so the actual negotiation itself, that are most likely to be being carried on the Department of State's 737. But nevertheless, I hope that it lays out a little bit of what that's looking like right now, at least from the American side. And we have been able to hear that apparently the president is now considering more possible sanctions on the Republic of India if the peace talks in Alaska fail. I've been hearing that these are not going to be peace talks, that these are peace talks. I don't know what they are, but according to the president, we put secondary tariffs on Indians for buying Russian oil, and I could see if things don't go well, then sanctions or secondary tariffs could go up. That was according to Besson in an interview to Bloomberg TV, making it somewhat clear that there will be economic consequences if the talks fail. The president also said that apparently Zelensky was not invited to the Alaska summit because it was feared that he could derail the talks, most likely by speaking common sense about the Russian standpoints. But nevertheless, European officials insisted on direct representation at the meeting, which would include Rubio and Lavrov, the foreign minister of Russia, and the Secretary of State of the United States, proposing Root or another European leader, as well as Zelensky, participates. However, after telephone conversation between Merz and the president, the European side apparently dropped this demand, and so for this reason, it's going to be solely a U.S.-Russian conversation, is the best way to put it, in Anchorage. But Matthew, what are people thinking of this whole thing?
Isn't it kind of a bad thing when you say that if you invite the country that's supposed to be one of the parties in the negotiation, like for example, you have the two countries fighting, Russia and Ukraine, and the third party negotiator says, let's not invite one side because they might derail the whole talks. Well, it's like that might be an indicator that the talks are going to probably go nowhere then, because if the two sides came and meet together without the fear of them, causing the whole thing to fall apart, it's like then that tells you that they're not ready to end it yet. So what the hell is the point of the meeting?
Yeah, I would say it doesn't really make a lot of sense at all. Man, that's literally what I think Chamberlain said leading up to the Munich agreement. He was like, of course we wouldn't include the Czechs. They're going to derail this whole thing. And then they just negotiated away their territorial rights with them not even involved in the negotiations. That probably is what generally is happening with this. And also, folks, I gotta say, I don't know what the hell's going on. Just to make this a little bit clear, and I once again want to say that this is not political, this is just exactly what's happening. We have no clue what's happening in Anchorage. The president has said in two different statements today that one, he expects that there's not going to be a ceasefire or anything close to a peace being achieved, and then on the same moment, on a different sentence, said that peace is almost assured at this point with the Russians. I don't even know what the hell's going to be going on. We've been told that this isn't a peace talk. Now it's sounding like it is a peace talk. I have no clue what's going to be going on in Alaska at this point. It might be nothing, it might be something, and that's really led a lot of people to have the question, what is this thing going to turn into? We have absolutely no clue right now, and we've heard just about everything under the sun that it could end up becoming or may not be. So, Matthew, what are people thinking about that, and what are you thinking about that as well?
So it looks like about 64% said the Alaska meeting will be basically purely a one-time photo op, while 22% said it will be the first icebreaker meeting between the U.S. and Russia, and 6% said I need more info on this one. And it's kind of hard to say exactly where this is going to go, but I can say with confidence it's definitely a photo op because the U.S. has basically admitted to it being a photo op. So they're saying that out of their own mouth, so we got to run with it. To say it'll be the first icebreaker, I would say probably not, because This isn't like college where they tell you to stand up and say, "What's your name, young man, and what's your favorite food that you like to eat or something." It's not that type of icebreaker. This right here is basically Putin's going to show up. He's going to try to lecture the U.S. president about the fake Russian history that Putin loves to ramble on about, like he did with Tucker Carlson. He's going to try that same trick with the U.S. president, and we'll have to see if it gets anywhere. And he's going to do that, and then he's going to make some wild demands that Ukraine give up land. They also give up their NATO membership. They also need to disarm. Also, Russia wants to make sure that the Zelensky regime is allegedly gone. I mean, he's going to say all this junk. So it's not really an icebreaker. It's literally Putin's time to come indoctrinate people and try to turn people against Ukraine. That's all this is really for. So it's really just a propaganda mission for Putin. Now, for the United States, it's a photo op. But for Putin, it's his chance to try to brainwash people. So I'm with the 63%. But Enforcer, what say you?
Man, here's how it's going to go. Putin's going to go up there and go, "Listen, are you a president or some kind of comedian?" Anyways, what I was saying was, back in the 11th century, the king or prince, more so, of Nizhny, too long didn't read, sanction him. Like, it's like, man, that's what it's going to turn into. I'd have to be the 63%. This is going to be a photo op, and it's most likely going to become nothing else. Because anything that, even if anything was agreed to up in Anchorage, no one's going to agree with it. The Europeans are going to be pissed. The Ukrainians are going to be pissed. And I think at this point, whether people want to believe this or not, I think the president is starting to understand that you really can't piss off the Europeans too much because they actually hold a decent amount of cards. In the words of Zelensky, "I'm not here to play cards, but we have all the spades." Like, it's like we have all aces here. And the Europeans have a decent amount of aces up their sleeve. So with that in mind, I don't really think that there's going to be anything agreed on in Alaska at all from the U.S. side because it would immediately just be countered in Europe. They would just absolutely refuse it and say that this is unacceptable. And then there's going to be the threat of a schism, and then the U.S. would have to back down because, losing the Europeans as a part
He
of the
just wants to complain, huh?
that could happen. So it's going to most likely end up that nothing comes out of this, and Putin will be up there doing his usual stupid, idiotic rambling, and the president of the United States probably will not have a damn about any of that rambling because it'll be too long. So with that,
Another bad sign. Another bad sign is this. Literally today, we just covered it. This massive, like the war's largest drone attack that Ukraine launched on Russia, literally 24 hours before the meeting's supposed to take place in Alaska between the U.S. and Putin. That's a bad sign. Also, the advance that Russia tried to force through in the contested regions, that advance that they got through, thankfully the Ukrainians were able to stop it. So they cut the Russians off. They can't get any further near Pokrovsk. But the fact that these major developments are happening literally right before the Alaska meeting, and I would say they're correlated. It's probably happening on purpose, intentionally, because Putin is trying to gain some land so that way he can try to sell the narrative that Russia is winning and that Ukraine's on the back foot. That's why he did that. And Ukraine's also slamming Russia to say, look, we're bringing Russia to their knees, their oil economy is falling, and we have the upper hand. So that's not like an indication of peace, like between either side. That's an indication that they both want to continue fighting it out. So it's pretty clear to me at this point.
yeah, it's pretty clear, and I don't really think anything will be achieved. If anything, Putin will do circular talk, and it really depends on whether the president wants to take that at face value or not. Because Putin will probably be like, "I absolutely love peace. It's a wonderful thing. Peace is a great thing to achieve. A wonderful deal. Have you ever heard of the white dove that carries an olive branch?" And then the president might come out and go, "It sounds like there's some potential," or he may come out, "He's full of shit." We don't really know how he'll react to that, but that's definitely what Putin's going to do. Is he's going to say, "No, I'm all for peace. I love peace," and then lay out practical, unconditional surrender to Ukraine and the West as a whole to achieve a peace. Which peace is not to be achieved at all costs. Everyone should know that. And if you ever believe that peace is to be achieved at all costs, well, look how that turned out for everyone against Hitler. Didn't really turn out that well. And it seems that no one really learned, or at least some people didn't learn it back then that didn't work, and they still don't know it now. But nevertheless, I hope that does address it the best I can, at least on that current situation. And also, speaking of some developments here in the old United States of America, we were able to hear of something quite great. You see, down in San Diego today, the USS Carl Vinson has finally returned from its 9-month deployment at sea. And here's the clip. Look at that.
Look at that. All the sailors out there on the deck. This is what it looks like when a superpower has working aircraft carriers. You see that, Medvedev? That actually works, unlike y'all's aircraft carrier. That's kind of crazy.
Man, the Russian minds can simply not comprehend this sort of mechanical complexity and the fact that it really works.
Ours works so well that we scrap old ones when we buy brand new ones.
Man, ours work so well, and we have so many of them that we put some of them in port, not to try and repair them to just keep them alive, but to upgrade them and make them even deadlier.
Man, ours works so well, sometimes we just take them out for a spin just to take them out for a spin because we got that kind of money, you know?
Man, so our carriers work so well that we actually have barber shops and ice cream parlors inside of our aircraft carriers. We even have Starbucks in there. Do the Russians have that? Certainly not. I mean, hell, they don't even have real McDonald's in their country anymore. They call it vomit and throw up or vkutsna i tochka. Like that sounds like it's not really a great country to me. I mean, they don't have American corporatism. That's third world right there. But anyways, and I mean, I'm not even kidding about that. That's just kind of hilarious to think about. Generally, if your country does not have some sort of an American company present in it, you're economically bad off so badly that they can't even see about turning a dollar, opening up a store in your country, which means you're pretty damn bad off. But nevertheless, moving on from that and on into the rest of the news that we have tonight, we still have a pretty decent amount. And also, this is something that was very interesting today. Speaking of the leading up to these talks, satellite footage from Murmansk has shown that every single nuclear submarine of the Russian Northern Fleet is in port right now. Every single one of them, including the ones that carry ICBMs. Every single one of them. None of them are out at sea right now. And some people have been saying, "Oh, this is an attempted de-escalation." I have a feeling it's the opposite. I have a feeling that it's the lack of money that Russia has to have these things underway. I have a feeling that that's more so the issue because having them all in port and not even having a minimal amount of them out there inside of the Baltic Sea or the Arctic Sea or anywhere else for that matter is pretty shocking. Very rarely, if ever, has this happened. And as a matter of fact, we've never really heard of a time of this happening before, except for the collapse of the Soviet Union. So I'm generally believing that this might actually be a pretty telltale sign, a very big telltale sign. The Russians are starting to run out of practically all the money they have available. Otherwise, all of their submarines would not be in port. Because having these submarines underway, especially the ICBM carrying submarines, at least a couple of them, is massively important to maintaining a strategic deterrent at a nuclear level and ensuring that the nuclear triad of deterrence exists. And the fact that the Russians don't have a single one of these in the Northern Fleet underway, and we're also apparently hearing that this is the same for the Far East Fleet at Vladivostok, that is a pretty wild sort of a sign right here. Never really heard about that at this point, and I don't think we ever will. This might actually be showing us that Russia is going under. But, anyways, with that, we'll be moving on from that little detail. And also, by the way, folks, I actually want to tell y'all that according to all information, and a big shout out to Preston Stewart for reposting this on Twitter, it appears that according to the Institute for the World Economy, in terms of billions of euros of military support provided to Ukraine, the United States has now officially been beat. The Europeans have now provided about $4 billion or 4 billion euros more support to the state of Ukraine than the United States of America. So now the Europeans, at least in terms of spending, have the larger say in how the whole conflict goes. Now the United States really doesn't have the "we spent more money so we get a larger say" stake. Now the Europeans are the general majority shareholder at this point in armed financial support to the state of Ukraine, and the United States takes second place. A little bit interesting to see. And we also got to see that the Lithuanian nation was, or the Lithuanian Ministry of Defense was continuing to show people through infographics published to date directly by the Lithuanian MOD the defensive lines and positions that they are building around the border to be able to try and protect their people from a possible attack from the Russian Federation. And it's very interesting because these were actually well-made infographics here. I was like, these are actually pretty sick. And made me think, dang, we ought to have some of these for our channel. Like, to explain some things here and there. Because that's actually pretty cool looking. Look, they have like the soil, the grass, the anti-tank ditch, the closed border control points, the minefields, the dragon's teeth, fortified strong points with trenches, and secondary positions with trenches. And then they even go into what the 50-kilometer long defense line looks like.
Isn't that a bit of an OPSEC violation, though? Like, I get the fact that the Russians could see it from satellite, but it seems like laying it out for them, like, this is exactly how we're doing it, and this is exactly how it is. It's like, I like to see it, obviously, because we like to have the information, but it seems like a bit of an OPSEC issue.
Oh, it's no OPSEC issue. All this would be seen from satellite anyways. This is just more so laying it out to the Lithuanian public. Look, we're doing stuff to make sure that we're prepared to fight to the death if they try and invade us. And so I would say it's not really an OPSEC violation. I would actually say that this is pretty transparent as far as the Lithuanian Armed Forces goes, to make sure that they're letting the public know that they're taking every concerted effort possible to be able to prepare for the defense of the country.
And
And
it looks
also,
like they're doing a pretty good job with it too. That second, the defense line echelons that they've added here, that looks like a pretty well designed defense actually. So it seems like it'd be pretty hard to get across. Like the Russians have a hard enough time just simply moving across open fields. So moving across this water, landmine type deals, and also it looks like Dragon's Teeth. That looks like it could be probably a little bit too much above the Russians' pay grade.
it really does look like it. But honestly, folks, let me know in the chat. What are y'all thinking about this? I would actually put in a little bit of cash to make an infographic like this here and there for like a article that we could write on something every once in a while. Would y'all be interested? I can't guarantee that it would happen, but it might be an interesting sort of a thing to look into because honestly, this infographic today was wildly visually pleasing to me, and I actually looked at it for a couple of minutes. I was like, wow, that's really cool. I like how they did that. But anyways, moving on from that and out of the Lithuanian MOD, it's time for us to start getting on into a little bit of international news from East Asia, the Middle East, and then back into the Ukraine war, covering that in incredibly great detail tonight, considering that we've already been covering that in incredibly great detail over the course of the night so far. But before we move into all of that, I want to make sure that we get a couple of questions from the chat and chit chat with you all for a second to have a proper segue into the second segment of news. So, Matthew, what do we got?
All right, so jumping into our three super chat questions, actually, our first three ones. Our first one here is going to go to, guess who? It is the channel legend LC39A, and he puts in another massive support yet again tonight. A $127 donation, and thank you very much, LC39A, once again for that massive support indeed. And he said, as an octogenarian, I've never heard that word before, by the way. I can't believe I got it right the first time. He said, but as an octogenarian, I'm told you can't take it with you. And that being said, I have no qualms about dying in debt. LOL.
And I thank you for the support, LC39A. Don't die in debt, though. Like, it's always good to have a little bit left for the inheritance for the children and all that sort of thing. That's always an important thing. But I do thank you massively for the support, LC39A, and helping this channel to keep on running because your massive support has been helping this channel to be possible and help us to keep this thing rolling day in and day out. I've got to thank you massively so much once again for enjoying this channel and supporting it because folks like you help this thing to be possible every day. Your support goes into keeping Matthew and me fed, keeping our lights on, helping us to focus every day on this instead of what are the bills doing? Like, where are the bills? We get to focus on this every day. And I got to thank you so much once again for that incredibly massive support and helping this channel to keep on rolling because if it was not for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to be here tonight like we have been for years covering this news once again. So a massive thanks to you so much once again. I hope that this address said the best we possibly can, LC39A. And also, really quickly, folks, I've had something, and it was sent in by an old guard as well last night, old warrior, that has been on my mind. And I'm going to take LC39A's super chat for a second to address it because old warrior last night brought up in the super chat, and I've tried to do as much research on this as possible, Old Warrior, because I was like, where are they really? I did as much research as I could to figure out what was going on with the 2nd Cav Regiment, and it appears that the military.com post about it may have been miswritten. And I tried to do all the due diligence I could do today. I did some decent research on it, and it seems like the whole 2nd Cav Regiment isn't in Poland. From what we can tell, and generally lines up with the brush up on research we did last night, some of the 2nd Cav Regiment is at this military facility right here, which is apparently some sort of a barracks. But it's an incredibly small detachment of it, and it appears to be focused entirely on helping out the whole of the NATO alliance in a multinational effort to try and figure out what they're doing with their drone forces. Some strikers are there. It's not the Striker ATGM carriers or the Striker mobile gun system. It's just the M1126 Strikers, the armored personnel carriers, and the IFVs themselves that appear to be operating along with that small detachment. Beyond that, it seems that most of the 2nd Cav Regiment is still in Vilsec, Germany. still sitting at Vilsec, because I tried to look into it, and it looks like moving the entire 2nd Cav Regiment would be a pretty laborious task, although it is a highly mobile unit. They would have to load them up on rail and transport the whole Stryker Cav Regiment to that base in Elk. And it doesn't appear that that base has a large enough accommodation to be able to support the 2nd Cav Regiment, considering that they have an entire barracks compound at Vilsec that is specifically for the 2nd Cav Regiment. So either they would have to bivouac out there near that base, which is highly unlikely because they generally wouldn't want to do that for longer periods of time, and that generally would be part of an exercise itself. Or they would keep them at the Rose Barracks and then call them forward and then bivouac them in actual combat or a part of a larger exercise. I had to make sure that I did my due diligence on that last night, because you brought up, it was military.com, and I was like, maybe I'm wrong. And I was like, I have to do a load of research on this because there is a decent chance that I could be wrong. But it does appear that while some forward elements are in Elk, near to the Swalky Gap, it appears that most of the actual fighting part of the 2nd Cav Regiment is still in Vilsec. Also, by the way, I also wanted to share this with y'all because I was telling Matthew this before the show, because Matthew can attest, this has kept me up at night. I'm not kidding, Old Warrior. I was doing lots of research on this, and I was looking at it before the stream and talking to it with Matthew. And one thing that is actually pretty cool is that in their current structure, their troops, which are pretty much their companies that are a part of their squadrons. Weirdly enough, Cav regiments don't fall under the typical naming construct. In the regiment, their regiment is broken up into troops, which are equivalent to a company, but they have some really cool names. All of the 1st Squadron, 2nd Cav Regiments units are named after Native American tribes, like the Apache Troop, the Bull Troop, the Comanche Troop, and the Dakota Troop. I was like, this is actually really cool. I was looking through this a lot, and I was like, wow, that's neat. Like, the coolest one to me is that one of the forward support troops is called the War Wagon Troop. I was like, that is super cool. Like, honestly, like, I was looking at this, I was like, man, this is actually a really cool unit. Stryker Cav units are incredibly neat, but maybe one day on a 2nd channel, I'll make a video on a group like the Stryker Cav regiments, because they are incredibly interesting in their kind of force composition and how they operate. Very light and very mobile. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that the best we can. And also, really quickly, folks, we actually have to break away for some breaking news that's coming out at this moment before we get on to the next one. So, Matthew, what do we got?
All right, so we do have some breaking news that's coming out right this second. We've gotten a brand new revelation here about some, it looks like some airplane deployments to Elmendorf Air Force Base in Anchorage, Alaska. And keep in mind, that is where the meeting between Putin and the U.S. president is going to be taking place. We've just gotten word that a pair of B-2 stealth bombers apparently landed at the base at Elmendorf Air Base in Anchorage just a day before the meeting. So it was today they landed here. So we're being told, and there's rumors right now, that maybe that is intentional to send a message to Vladimir Putin to let him see these stealth bombers up close, and also have them literally flying in the same day that some of his entourage is arriving there at the base. So it seems like a show of power, if you ask me, just my personal opinion, but that is quite crazy. These are the same B-2s that struck Iran in Midnight Hammer, actually. They're landing here at Elmendorf. So very interesting, and it seems honestly like a move the president might make. This is kind of up his alley, doing stuff like this, kind of like this sneaky symbology like this. Honestly, I would say not a bad move, honestly. But Enforcer, what say you?
He brings Putin to the hangar. What is this? These are the ultimate killing machines. We drop maps on the Iranians with these. We will do the same to you. No bunker is safe. Like, it's like, bro, if that's what happened, if that's what's going to happen at this Anchorage meeting, then I'd kind of be for it. Like, if we actually threatened them in a sense, like, look at these bombers, ultimate killing implements, I would be like, okay, this actually has a pretty good purpose. We're literally bringing this guy here to intimidate him on U.S. soil. So now this actually seems like it might actually be a fun idea. But that's only if it takes that approach. Like, if this is something like, look at our impressive bombers, aren't they wonderful, beautiful to work, I would be like, I don't know about that. But if we did like an ultimate killing machine, I would be like, yes, this is a pretty decent move, intimidating them like this. But that is interesting. They actually are flying in Elmendorf. This is a live camera at the Lake Hood Seaplane Base in Anchorage, Alaska. And if we go there, that ought to be close to Elmendorf. Let's see, where is the Lake Hood Seaplane Base? It's going to be somewhere in deeper waters. Well, not deeper waters. It's going to be close to shore. But where in the world would this be? Here? No, that's a barge. Where in the world would this thing be? Well, here's Elmendorf, so let's go up here. Where in the world is the seaplane? Let me just type this in. Lake Hood Seaplane Base. Oh, it's right here. Right at the airport. Oh, shoot.
Lake
That is
Hood.
Dude, that is cool. Look, they dredged out like practical runways for these planes to land in this lake.
That's pretty cool right there. I guess they're taking Putin to the hood.
We're taking him to the hood. We're going to show him all around Anchorage. He thought that Russians were alcoholics. He has not met an Alaskan. A lot of Alaskans drink. A lot. They drink a great deal. Everyone goes, why are they drinking? Well, it's because it's frigid and cold and there isn't really a lot to do. So, kind of like Russia a little bit. But these are Americans and they are upstanding people. They are living in harsh environments and sometimes they have to try and cope with the environment. But still, so that does confirm that B2 must have been on an approach into Elmendorf because it looks like it was looking somewhere out towards here possibly because of the backwards angle. We're seeing more of the backside, but it appears to have been landing at this runway 06, at Elmendorf most likely, which is the longer
Man,
runway.
we're treating the B2s like that, like the most menacing like thing ever. Like it's the one thing that if you bring it out, people are like, oh no, not the B2s. It's like fly them in, have them come sit on the runway. That'll scare them real good. Honestly, that's kind of giving Putin a piece of his own medicine. Because
Crying.
remember how like Putin likes to
Crying,
exchange
baby.
tricks and tactics with the European leaders. Like he used to bring in Angela Merkel to like the Kremlin, and he would bring out this big ass like mean ass dog. Putin would like and have him sit there like right next to Angela, who was terrified of dogs because I think she got attacked by one when she was younger. So Putin would have this big like junkyard dog come out and like circle around her and stuff like that while they were talking, just to try to screw with her basically and scare her. So this is like the opposite. This time Putin's getting it.
Yeah, it's a pretty like if that's what actually happens, this is going to be kind of humorous. Actually, this might actually be pretty funny. But we're gonna have to wait to see how this goes because, like, we're thinking it might be to intimidate Putin. Like, for all we know, he could be like, "Get in the cockpit, take a look. Aren't they really cool?" And then that would be something I'm not really a big fan of. So it really depends on the context. But if it's the context I'm hoping for, I'm all for it. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that breaking news the best we can. Really interesting stuff to hear. But with that, it is time for us to move on to the second question of this segment.
Also, by the way, just pull up the picture of Angela Merkel with the junkyard dog circling around her with the Putin meeting. Pull that up, by the way, because I see people laughing about it. It was honestly, like, I'll say this, it was obviously a cruel thing to do because she was scared of dogs, but it was also kind of hilarious at the same time. He literally had a junkyard. Look at that. That dog is freaking massive right there. Look how uncomfortable she is. And look at that look on Putin's face. Like, he knew exactly what he was doing when he did that. But this is like a crazy big dog right here, honestly. I mean, I wouldn't be scared of it. Also, look, it went and sat by her, too. It looks like a friendly dog, even though it's kind of like a junkyard looking, like, big dog like that. But, I mean, this is crazy right here, man. It was crazy.
It didn't mean to scare it. Look at that face. He's looking at that dog like that dog's supposed to be doing all the heavy lifting in this whole meeting.
Honestly, though, it was hilarious. I gotta admit.
This dog is called Coney, apparently.
Coney, like, that's interesting.
Like Coney, like the warlord down from Uganda, I think. Like, I honestly think it's that guy. Like the Lord's, let's see, the Lord's, something army. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Down in Uganda.
Yeah, I'm kind of.
Dude, I think that dog is named after that guy. Like, because his name was Coney, I think. But beyond that, though, yeah, this is look at him, man. He's like, you got to get more aggressive, pop. Like, you're trying to like smack the dog a little, get a little angry, get it growling a little. Dude, honestly though, that was absolutely diabolical. And you know what we ought to do though? We ought to get Putin's worst fear, which is an accountant running in, yelling in Russian, "Mein Führer, the books can't be cooked anymore." He would go, "Oh God!" Like he would absolutely freak out, man. If someone came in and did that, I think Putin would have a heart attack and die if an accountant came into the room yelling, "The books, they've been cooked too much, they're collapsing." And dude, he would freak out. He probably would say, "Okay, we're on the plane." Trump would be like, "Where are you going?" And he'd be like, "China, anywhere but Russia. I'm not going back." But anyways. with that, I hope that does address that well. Jokes sometimes fall flat on this channel, folks. No laugh tracks. You just throw jokes into the wind, hope that there's a laugh. No laugh sometimes. But beyond
That
that,
was a good one. It was a good one.
my fellow Americans, it was a good one. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that the best we can. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next super chat here goes to IngX. And thank you very much, IngX, for that very generous $50 support. And we do appreciate that very, very much, by the way. That's a 50-pound support right there. That supports up there getting pounded. And we do appreciate that, IngX, very much. And he did not leave a comment, however, but we do appreciate that. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta thank you for the massive support, Ingex, because if it wasn't for folks like you supporting this channel and helping it to keep on running, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible and keep this thing rolling. And so with that, a massive thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well, because while you didn't throw in a comment, the support is absolutely amazing, and it helps us to keep this thing rolling day in and day out. And with that, we are on to the last question of the segment, and then we're going to be getting on into the rest of the news.
And this one is going to go to Old Warrior, yet another channel legend. And thank you very much, Old Warrior, as well. He said, another YouTuber says Putin landed in Alaska. Any other confirmation of that? And that means an overnight stay if he's already there.
There was no confirmation of that. It appears that that was pre-posted from what we would know. Like almost like well in advance. The plane that landed earlier today was carrying a security entourage that is supposed to be preparing everything for Putin's arrival, which is pretty standard procedure for most world leaders. But it appears that that person was jumping the gun and reporting something that has not happened yet, because we have not been able to hear on our end that Putin has landed. And let me quickly check that before I say that. Putin, Alaska. Let me just type that in really quick. There is nobody who has said yet that Putin has arrived in Alaska. It appears that he's on the way, but they said that it's going to be quite some time before he arrives. So he's most likely going to be arriving by tomorrow, early in the morning tomorrow, most likely, because we already know that the president is also on his way up there, and all the Secret Service teams and all that are already heading up there to land at Elmendorf and start setting everything up for his arrival. So it's probably the chance that he'll be arriving early in the morning tomorrow. So that appears to have been reported early by that other YouTuber, like extremely early, most likely by about 24 hours. So with that, I hope that does address it the best I can, Old Warrior. Big thanks to you for support and helping this channel to keep on running. I hope that does address that well. And I also hope, Old Warrior, that I did a great deal of due diligence on the second Cav Regiment question, because I did as much looking as I could. And it seems that they're all in Vilsec. Still, once again, take it with a grain of salt. That's what I could find from my research. But usually those unit maneuvers are not said in great detail, and I can only confirm that a small forward element is in Poland. But with that, a massive thanks to you once again, Old Warrior. I hope that does address that incredibly well, and I hope that also answers both questions the best I can. But a huge thanks to you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that,
Ooh, Leo.
move on into the second segment of the news, where we get to talk about the rest of the news. And so moving on from that and into the international news, first off, inside of Taiwan,
So I'm not
here is something a little bit crazy. It is a Hellfire launching truck. And it looks like a delivery van. I feel like I've seen this somewhere before in East Asia, like from some place called the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. But I wouldn't know. Apparently, this is a truck that it has a Hellfire launcher on board, which means that it can engage air or ground targets. Air targets of specific types. It can attack helicopters, but no actual fixed-wing aircraft. And it can also attack ground targets. And it's disguised to look like a delivery van. So it appears that this is something that the Taiwanese army is doing that is quote-unquote new. Is it incredible? Not really. The North Koreans are the masters of disguise. They make everything look like it's a peaceful piece of equipment, but it's actually an element of war. Let me go pull up North Korean disguised MLRS. Let's see. Here we are. Let me go get this. Ah, yes. The old dump trucks. We all know that they're just delivering cement, but what they're really doing is cementing your position in the grave, because it's really an MLRS. Or these, which are also delivery vans, but happen to have 127mm MLRSs inside of them. Or maybe this view, where you can see them not delivering bread, they're delivering death, apparently. We can also see these, which aren't really that disguised too well. I'd honestly say the disguise on that one, not really that good. But the North Koreans are the masters of this whole sort of a deal, at least at the moment. And it appears that the Taiwanese are starting to follow along to some extent, to some degree. I do want to make this a little bit clear, since we do have a question running on this right now. Disguising stuff, well, elements of war or implements of war as civilian vehicles is technically a violation of the rules of war, or in short, a war crime. Military vehicles are supposed to be clearly denoted in some way, shape, or form that they are a military vehicle. Civilian vehicles can be requisitioned for military use, but there has to be some sort of a clear identifier or some sort of marking on them to show that they have been requisitioned by the military for military purposes. If a delivery van like this was used in a conflict with China without clear markings showing that it's a operating vehicle of the Republic of China's army, this technically is a war crime, much like North Korean vehicles that are also disguised to look civilian in nature, but are elements of war. So, with that, a lot of people have
Yeah.
been talking about whether this is
You can ask.
acceptable or
Doesn't hurt to ask.
What are people thinking about it, and what are you thinking about it as well?
All right. So undoubtedly, the Hellfire missile trucks, they are pretty cool. I will admit that is a pretty
Yeah.
cool sight right there. It looks like it's well engineered and well built and designed. But the question is, though, is this technically a war crime or is it perfectly acceptable now that they've just unveiled it? So 56% said it's perfectly acceptable, no problems at all. While 21% said it's technically a war crime, and 15% said I need more info on it first. Now, technically, what this is called is it's called perfidy, which is a war crime. It's basically making something look civilian that's not civilian. It's designed as a military weapon that to the enemy looks like it's a civilian vehicle. And what that causes is it causes civilians to get basically bombed as well in war because they don't know, they can't distinguish the military vehicle from the civilian vehicle. So that's why it's a war crime. So technically it is. But the catch is, though, if Taiwan is fighting an enemy that commits war crimes out the kazoo and they don't think about it even with a second thought, is it acceptable in that instance? And that's the debate. I'm going to be on the fence about it. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that technically, it is a war crime. I would actually have to be with a smaller percentage in the 24% that say it's technically a war crime because technically it is. But now I will say that as far as diplomacy, we always have to be working from a position of unfairness, where we treat our opponents unfairly. But when it comes to the rules of war, those are generally made to ensure, at least in this instance, that the lines between civilians and the military are not blurred, and that it's incredibly clear what is a military target and what isn't. Really quickly to explain why this is an important thing, when you disguise vehicles as civilian and then you use them in a war, then the Chinese, in a war against Taiwan, have credence to say that every single delivery truck in Taiwan is a military target because all of them could be a concealed Hellfire launching delivery van. So they could end up hitting and killing hundreds of civilians at that point, with none of them being Hellfire launching delivery vans, because one time there was a Hellfire launching delivery van, so all of them could be. And that's generally why it's considered to be a war crime, is because you're trying to confuse the enemy and pretty much use the rules of engagement or the rules of war against them by trying to make a war implement look like a civilian one. That's generally why it's considered to be a war crime. So I would say that this is legally, by technicality, a war crime, because this is starting to blur the line in between the military and the civilian. Really quickly to say this as well, if the Taiwanese did end up implementing this on a large scale and then a war began and then the Chinese started to strike and destroy every single delivery van that they ever saw and killed hundreds, if not thousands, of deliverymen and drivers that were in these trucks, the Taiwanese wouldn't really have a claim to go, oh my God, look, they're hitting civilians. This is crazy. They're going out of their way to kill these people. Because the reality is that the Taiwanese kind of made them all a target because they have delivery vans launching hellfires. That's kind of the same thing as in the Russian Federation when we go, oh my God, look at drones. They're operating drones out of high rises in Moscow. That's a similar thing. Like when people go, oh, that's terrible. They're hiding and using civilians as a shield. That's the same sort of a thing. Like in war, we're supposed to be trying to make the largest discernment between the civilians and the military as possible to make sure that there is no confusion what's on the table to hit and what's not on the table.
Also, by the way, was going to get to So go back and read
Little
that real quick.
colicky.
Let's see if that was the case. I didn't notice that, so
Not
let's see
yet.
if it was there.
Oh wait, hang on. There's actually a grainy picture of it that's supposedly from the Kursk Oblast right here.
So, so this weapon is potentially in Ukraine or in Russia?
Apparently, it might be, or at least a similar style of truck where it has a concealed MLRS launcher in it.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, Glock, who's there is right then. So apparently, North Korea has given Russia a few of those, apparently. So fascinating. But also, by the way, I see people pointing out another thing as well. They're saying, well, technically, wouldn't Operation Spiderweb that Ukraine conducted on Russia, with these like secret drone boxes that went into Russian territory and then launched them on the bases to destroy their aircraft, wouldn't that technically also be the same type of war crime? And that's a little bit debatable because technically the Russians were the ones that actually brought those boxes into their own country. Granted, they didn't know what was inside the box, but the Russians are the ones who drove it in there. They set the boxes on the back of their trucks and they parked them next to these airfields. And then the drunken Russian drivers happened to stumble around and get out and walk around. Then all of a sudden the drones started flying around and hitting the base. So it's a little bit debatable on that one. But to build a vehicle specifically for the purpose of being a weapon of war for a country to defend itself, I mean, technically it's a war crime, but here's my thing.
Put her in the trailer.
I'm not into war crimes. If one country is playing in the gutter, like for example, if China is going to have no like adherence to war crime laws whatsoever, if they go to war with Taiwan, then should Taiwan be held to the exact same standard in the case that China's committing war crimes like crazy and Taiwan's got to defend itself by the rule book while China's not playing by the rule book? That's always been a debate, which is a hot debate in my opinion. It's not really easy to say one way or another, but I would tend to lean toward the side that you kind of got to do what you got to do to defend yourself at the end of the day.
Also, really quickly to say this, technically the drone launches in Russia were not a war crime because it was not conducted by the Ukrainian military. That was actually conducted by the SBU. And there's a little bit of a difference there and a fine line that spies and saboteurs are not provided any protection under the Articles of War. If a spy or a saboteur is caught in the action of conducting
Yeah,
espionage or
basically.
intelligence gathering,
It's a pacifier. Car rider walking a stroller, walking around or rocking your baby, swaddling your baby. Give her a warm bath, rubbing her tummy or placing her on her tummy for a back rub, playing an audio of heartbeat or quiet soothing sounds, providing white noise by running a white noise machine, a vacuum cleaner or clothes dryer in a nearby room, dimming the lights and limiting other visual stimulation.
then they could just find those guys and summarily execute them. Or they could end up generally
Oh,
trying to
God.
find those people, arrest them if they can, and then try and charge them with some kind of a crime inside the Russian Federation.
Oh, was it?
Or they can just summarily execute them again. So that generally is kind of
it was
the
like
workaround with that one, is that it wasn't conducted by the military, it was conducted
Yeah,
by
because colic is kind of unknown.
intelligence agencies are literally everything. Oh, the gloves are off, you can do whatever.
Yeah,
but
usually.
you get shot on sight.
Isn't it just like
that's sort of the difference there? And this isn't a
babies crying?
Taiwanese
and
version
I
of
don't know
the
why.
SBU or
Yeah.
the CIA. This is the
That's
Republic
it.
of China Army, which is the official army of the island of Taiwan that is doing this with the Hellfire trucks. So that's where the war crime side of things come in, is that the regular ground army is operating in a sense as a pseudo-civilian sort of a element, at least with the delivery vans. So I would generally have to be honest with y'all. I think that it is a war crime. And I see some people saying the rules of war don't matter. Okay, but here's the thing, folks. Like, I see some people saying that, and maybe they do, maybe they don't. But you can't complain then when Russia kills Ukrainian civilians. Like you can't say that on one hand and then say, oh my God, it's terrible that they blasted away a 9-year-old in a city square with a missile. Because technically, if you're saying there are no rules to war, there's nothing wrong with the Russians doing that. There is something wrong with the Russians doing that because there's supposed to be some level of decency. We're not supposed to be barbarians. We're not savages. We're supposed to be civilized people from a civilized nation. And we're supposed to be looking at things around the world, whether other nations are civilized or not, from a civilized perspective. And generally, we want our allies to adhere to a sort of thing. Otherwise, we really don't have a good credence to say, oh my God, they're killing civilians, because we're pretty much begging them to start blowing up civilians at that point. If we blur the line between the military and the civilians, that gray, there's no way that the civilians won't be attacked and killed.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And so with that, I hope that does address that. Well, at least in my opinion, folks can disagree on that. It is what it is. They're doing it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But anyways, moving on out of East Asia and on into the Middle East, we also were able to hear that the United States has signed a deal to sell $500 million
That's the move.
of M142 HIMARS, which means that there's 4 of them. And also some additional munitions as well to follow along with those HIMARS. That's costing Bahrain about $500 million and will give them some longer range artillery to work with. What does that have to do with a country that is only several miles across at the widest? I have no clue. But they're still doing it. So, there they go. They're getting some HIMARS. Outside of that, we also were able to hear that the Israelis are planning on mobilizing from their reserves 80,000 to 100,000 reservists to attempt to occupy and control the Gaza Strip here in the near future. Outside of that news and updates in the Middle East, we are now returning back into generally Ukraine war news, as we were able to see that an Antonov 124 that landed at Plovdiv today in Bulgaria was actually dropping off some Mi-24s. Where they came from, I don't really know. But these are Mi-24s that are bound for Ukraine, which will be helping out the Ukrainian aviation or rotary attack wings to be able to operate more efficiently, or at least in larger numbers with a greater volume of fire. Outside of that, we also are able to get into the Ukraine war itself, as we were able to get a decent amount of news today from the front. First, we were able to hear from Ukrainian intelligence that apparently North Korea is going to be sending another 6,000 soldiers and 100 pieces of North Korean equipment, including the Chonma-D main battle tank and BTR-80 APCs. Let me go show y'all a Chonma-D. These are great. A piece of real work if y'all have ever seen one. Let me go get it. Let me go get it. Here, wait, let me go get it. The Chonma-D. This is what they say is going to be arriving inside of Russia here soon. This.
Oh no, the plywood tank, the plywood Abrams ripoff. Oh no. If they get their hands on these, Ukraine could be finished.
I think they're going to be cooked. Dude, if they really send one of these and it ends up getting blown up, I'm going to have a good laugh. It's going to get blown up for sure. I can promise you that. No tank has survived the war so far. Not a single one unscathed. This thing will get blown up, and then the North Koreans will be like, oh, it was a glorious death. They fought like 9 million Americans in Ukraine, and then it got blown up. But beyond that, it appears the North Koreans are going to be arriving in full force. Beyond that, we also got the Russian casualty report, which there were no Bobcat losses. But Miss Disa, damn, son. Where did they find that? They didn't find them, sadly. But beyond that, Miss Disa here with the record said, troop loss average stays below 1,000. Drones and vehicles rise sharply to above average. And over the past 24 hours, we were able to hear that 990 Russian soldiers were wounded and killed over the past 24 hours, along with 3 APCs, 191 supply trucks, 5 main battle tanks, 29 artillery pieces, 191 drones, and 1 MLRS. So in general, a pretty decent day for the Ukrainian armed forces. Moving on from that and on into the front lines, we were able to see near to the Kupiansk front, the 14th Mechanized Brigade was continuing to conduct anti-drone warfare, taking down Russian drones that were either attempting to attack Ukrainian forces or conduct reconnaissance on them. The 14th Brigade has been very, folks, I have a hard time with words these days on air, but they've been very influential in the defense of the Kupiansk front throughout the entirety of the conflict so far, and it appears that they continue to remain so as they attack and destroy these Russian drones within the area. We see them continuing to attack these drones. This is a Molnia. And they're about to hit it. The Molnias are getting pretty cheap looking these days.
Alemania, nasty drone.
Man, nasty. Like, that thing must be from Iraq, the way they bagged that bomb up. God dang. But anyways, moving on from that and on down into the Severonsky forest, we also were able to hear, down in the Kremena area, the Ukrainian tank actually did conduct a direct frontal assault against Russian positions. This tank was a part of the 63rd Brigade and started to blast Russian soldiers at point-blank range. We can actually see that in this clip right here as the tank fires off its first round and just starts rolling straight into Russian positions.
As you can see here, the People's Republic of Russia believes in having their snow coffee and eating the birds on Tuesday. But the problem is they don't make it until Tuesday because they're getting blown up left and right.
As you can see here, the Ukrainian drone draws up into the Russian positions. The Russians use most of their money that they get from new military service to buy vodka, and especially crocodile. We can now see that the Ukrainians are beginning to dispense medicine tablets called high-explosive shells. These are provided by the generous leader, Volodymyr Zelensky.
Some say they on the expensive Dell computers, and they look closely to see all the losses on the loss report.
Sometimes they weep. That man's grabbing a blanket while no one's looking.
Sound like Phineas and Ferb.
We also got to see
These guys sound like Phineas and Ferb when they're adults.
against light Russian forces inside of the forest itself. Like this guy on a motorcycle.
Really?
Oh, that guy looked back like it was a cartoon or something crap. Like he leaned forward and went, "Huh?" It's like, yeah, there's the battlefield, and yeah, there's drones flying around. It's what they do.
Here we can see the only quad bike inside the Russian Federation. Some people say that the Russians aren't very poor, and for this reason, the entire country came together to buy this ATV, which was rapidly dismantled by the Ukrainian armed forces. We can also see here that they are driving some kind of a shitty Lada pickup. These are considered to be equivalent to the Ford Ranger inside of Russia, and for this reason, the entirety of Russia has been declared mentally deranged, and any Russian arriving in America gets put inside of an insane asylum. What are they carrying in the back of that thing?
Like a rip-off. That looks almost like a rip-off Hilux or something.
Also, what are they carrying in the back?
I don't know, like oranges?
I don't know, but they blew it up. Thankfully, whatever the hell that stuff was. They also went after what appears to be a UAZ-469. Yeah, that's what it was. We can now see them targeting a Buhanka.
And look at it bouncing along.
Oh, dude, look at that guy over there, bro. Look, he was standing at the checkpoint. Look at him. Oh, dude, he pointed at it.
He jumped back in like, oh, scary.
Bro, first, man, he pointed at it. He said, look, and then he went and ran and hide. Watch him, dude. He does the whole sequence. He sees it, jumps, points, and then runs away. All in like less than a second. Watch. Thrown! And then he ran away
Bro forgot
instantly.
he was security for a solid like 2 minutes.
Bro, they absolutely goosed the brakes. Look.
Oh no! I think he burned the brakes out when he slammed him like that. That thing like lost all its braking traction right after he did that.
Bro, oh! And now they're moving on to the next strike. It appears to be another Buhanka inside the woods.
That might be the best Russian security guard I've ever seen in my life. His whole job was to literally take care of drones and like the checkpoint and everything. And the first thing he does, he sees it coming along. Oh look, go! Oh no! It's a drone! Oh my God! Somebody call the police!
Dude, look at him, man. He's sitting there. He's like, look! And he points right there. There's his hand. He points right at it with one finger. He's like, no! Someone call the guards. He's the guard, and then he goes running away. Oh my God! And then
Bro sold his comrades out.
Bro, they probably heard him in that shitty Buhanka over all of like the clanking going on of them going over like nothing. Like it just clanks because it's so crappily made. They heard click, 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 and then they went, oh, skirt. Oh my God. Man, that was probably one of the worst ways to go right there. But anyways, moving on from that and on out of the Severonsky Forest, which was full of comedy today, we also were able to see an attempted Russian attack once again on the Severus front, failing due to the actions of the Ukrainian 45th Artillery Brigade, which we can see operating against the Russians in this clip. Here we can see a Russian MTLB. These are about to be targeted by the Ukrainians and obliterated into nice pieces. They look very yummy.
As we see, they just sparked up a light for a lantern so they can see in the dark.
The Russians are illuminated by the light and are also getting a little too hot.
Now they have their fancy heaters, keeping them warm during the winter.
This man, a United Front member, has been obliterated in a Ukrainian airstrike. Man, like they have to include like a specific political party or something like that. But anyways, moving on from that, we also got to see a significant ammunition explosion inside of Yekinyeve, which is right.
Just angrily looking away.
Make sure I get this right. So here's the clip. Oh, what's that? Is that a drone? Охуеть!
This is an outrage.
Man, why did that sound like Mustache Man? You're like, this is an outrage. I was like, bro, what the hell? Dude, they're about to play that cringe clip of him. I asked him to surrender 4 times. You know, I'm like, oh, lame. I'm like, lame. Come on, get better content. But anyways, moving on from that, we also get to see the ammunition depot explosion from another angle in this clip right here. That thing sounds like a nice fire.
This right here is the bloke that blew up my ammo depot.
Look at these people. They touched me on my depot, people. And you, sir, are you ready to receive my limp depot? How dare you, sir? What are the charges? Enjoying some ammo, some succulent Chinese ammo? How dare... But anyways, moving on from the ammunition depot explosion and on up into the area of Mirnohrad and Pokrovsk, it's time for us to get on into this area. First, we were able to see that some Ukrainian FPV drones were taking their time to target the Russians today and say hello to them. Just checking on them, you know, making sure they're healthy and well fed and well dead, you know, in some instances. But we could see them here flying in the drones.
This is Moto Life Ukraine. I guess during their off time they were, on those bikes and, riding and stuff like that. But now they're on the battlefield and they're letting them ride in a different way. Now they're going to let them have it.
Back in the day, Motorlife used to be a Ukrainian motorcycler. Now he is a Russian. I don't even know. I don't know how to make that rhyme.
And he's Ukrainian. He's Ukrainian.
That man's taking a blanket. He seems to be hitting another position. Wow, that one had a steel door. I don't think it helped him though.
Always make sure to bring your steel toe boots to work. You don't want an OSHA violation to hit you real hard where it counts.
In Russia, there is no OSHA. There's only ocean, which is what you get thrown into if you don't do your job.
In Russia, they don't have safety organizations like OSHA. They have oh shit when it all goes wrong.
There's no such thing as workers' comp inside of Russia. The only thing that exists inside of Russia is workers' hurt. But anyways, moving on from that, we also got to see that the Ukrainians are conducting, in more serious note, forced evacuations from the villages near to the Mirnohrad breakthrough. This is more so a precaution than anything, and also considering that possible Russian artillery fire could be directed towards these villages, they want to make sure that civilians are out of harm's way. We also were able to hear that the situation is rapidly stabilizing within this direction, and the 1st National Guard Corps of the Ukrainian Armed Forces appears to be possibly counterattacking at this moment as well to cut off the advancing Russians, and then
Always the stroller. At least it works.
It appears that the Mirnohrad breakthrough, at least in the moment, sounds to be well under control. We're largely taking this one though on a day-to-day
Yeah, you just did it.
Yeah.
It's well under control. The Ukrainians are about to destroy them. It really depends on how the next days go. This is one of the few times in the Ukraine war that there actually is analysis that can happen. So really quickly, let me go and bring you all to the deep state map, which is more accurate than mine, at least with exact frontline data. And let me explain what is happening and what is going to be happening as a result of this action. So right now we understand that the entirety of the First Corps is surrounding this breakthrough in this area right now. And as you can see, there has been literally no advances over the past 48 hours by the Russians in this area, showing that they are completely surrounded and that they are most likely taking a considerable amount of losses at this point. Considering that the Russians actually have what we could call a weak point in this area that's incredibly thin, the Ukrainian First Corps could conduct a pincer maneuver at Chekove.
Yeah, it might be a little hard to carry up. You could have Gabe carry it though.
The Russians will end up surrendering, or their units will be completely destroyed, wounded and killed. The wounded will largely be considered to be surrendered if they're found by the Ukrainians. The other option, however, is that the Ukrainians just sit the First Corps around them, and the Russians fill in this opening, or the void. If that is the case, this will become an active front line for the Russians that they could possibly try and exploit later, but we don't really know which way it's going to be going at the moment. Those are the two outcomes that can happen over the next following days, and generally the wisest move by the Ukrainians for the moment right now would be to conduct a counterattack, at least around Chekove and also Nove Chekove, to try and cut off these Russians and then destroy them in detail later, and ensure that this breakthrough is only that, a temporary breakthrough, and does not jeopardize the greater situation of the Dobrapilya front or the larger Ukrainian Ukrainian defensive lines that have been built within this area, which are still being built out at the moment. But nevertheless, we are going to be moving on from that front line update. I hope you all enjoyed that because very rarely does the Ukrainian front line move enough or is fluid enough on any given day to actually give greater in-depth analysis that wouldn't become monotonous or mundane on the day-to-day basis, except for this one. This is actually one of the first times that it's been fluid enough that we can actually talk about it and what might be happening here in the near future. But moving on out of the Pokrovsk front and further on down towards Rykov, we also were able to hear that a Russian offensive was repelled in this area by the 118th Mechanized Brigade. Oh, we're going to be meeting that.
Oh.
You know, Matthew, there's a great kind of a combat vehicle down here, Matthew. You know what it's called?
What's it called?
It's called the AMX-10, and none other than all the French.
Oh.
They've always been known for their excellence. There is a Ukrainian brigade inspired by that very same French excellence, and that is the 68th Jaegers. I believe they're the ones that actually have the AMX-10, I think. But they actually are down here around this front right now.
Interesting. That is interesting right there. They use those things like they're hard chargers, I'll tell you.
It is fermented in the bottle, and like the best French champagne, it's vintage dated. Parmesan. But anyways, you can see
it works
just...
well, as the narrator showed you. It chews nice and snuggered. It does the job properly.
Oh, the cheap wine. It has always been known for its hangovers. There is a California champagne inspired by that $1 jug shittiness. A nice Parmesan. I can actually talk some dissing on them because they actually went out of business because they were so bad.
Oh damn! Also, did you see that middle part of the clip right there? That Russian had like pulled a dirt bike down to the gopher hole. Did you see that in the middle?
No, I didn't. Where was that, Matthew? Please tell it. This one?
I think it's right here. I think. Let's see. You're about to see it. I think there's like he dragged a whole dirt bike into the gopher hole. Yeah,
oh
right
my
there. Look
goodness.
at that. Yeah, it's like that Fent market that I saw yesterday or in Seattle. It's like a documentary about that street markets or whatever. They like get those stolen goods and they like drag them into like places and holes and stuff like that, and then they start selling it. It's the Russians are doing the same thing over here. They call it the crocodile market.
Man, crazy. And there's no crocodiles around here. You know, I've heard of alligator Alcatraz. In Russia, they have something similar. They call it crocodile Donbass, and it's a very big popular thing for the Russian army. But anyways. That's generally the end of the clip, but it does appear that the Ukrainians were able to repel some Russian assaults today. Outside of that, we also were able to hear that the Russians lost an Su-30. Eternal flight, brothers. But an Su-30...
Ground or sky, brothers. Eternal flight. Fly upside down into the blue yonder, brothers. Thank you so much for flying that plane. I hope you ejected safely, brothers. Eternal sky, brothers.
Man, fighter bomber is also, by the way, folks, he's on the hit list at this point in Russia. It's nigh time before he gets wiped out or purged by the Russians because they're not a big fan of him anymore because he keeps publishing all of the deaths and losses of the Russian Air Force and then says, his normal thing, eternal flight, brothers. And let's see. Oh, wait a minute, he actually changed it this time. He said, and every time say goodbye forever when you leave for a moment. Oh, okay.
This is the dumbest stuff. This guy puts out the most dumb taglines with these pictures ever, and also like the stereotypical thing. He said, "Let's make the picture black and white and make it look like it belongs at a funeral." It's kind of interesting. They don't put like the pilot's picture on there instead. It's like he puts the picture of the plane on there instead and talks about the aircraft being destroyed. It's like the pilot was taken out in this too. It's like where's the recognition for the pilot?
Actually, both pilots, I believe, in this one were killed because the Su-30SM actually is a tandem seat cockpit.
Yeah, so no recognition for either one.
Yeah, it's crazy. The pilots just don't matter. It's only the plane that matters in Russia. But beyond that, the Ukrainian MOD did confirm that the plane did crash. Apparently, it wasn't shot down. It just crashed. Probably due to poor piloting or poor maintenance. We're not really sure which, but it did crash, and it was another loss for the Russians. I guess it kind of counts for Ukraine, maybe, but they didn't shoot it down, so technically it doesn't. But still, great to hear. But nevertheless, with all of that in mind, folks, I have to tell y'all before we even move on to the next one, because I know that many people are always jarred by this, and I am as well. It's really hard to do this. But before I get off of this segment, there's this little weird thing to happen. So usually when we reach the end of a news segment, we always go to a speech from the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, to kind of like have like a halftime show of a sort for us to go to the restroom, you know, have a snack, maybe get a drink of water, and get ready to run the next part of the show. And it also lets everyone else prepare. When I get off of this post right here, there isn't a speech from Zelensky tonight because he's still off in Germany. So he doesn't have a speech again. So we have no speech to show. So when I get off of this post here, we actually start moving on into the second segment of the stream immediately. And I know it's very scary and very jarring. It actually scares me a lot as well.
Well, just like all things in life, sometimes it's just time to move on to a new chapter. And had a lot of memories in this room. A lot of good things happened in this room. And, you know, just some of the things that stick out. Wow. I mean, actually, it didn't even start in this room. It started in the attic of my house. And I think we did 9 interviews before we moved into this spot. And, you know, just some of the highlights, man. I mean, we started this.
He just moved in studios.
Is